Good evening. Welcome to a new year. Commissioner O'Neill could not be here tonight. He's down in a bit of the weather here. I'd like to call to order the Monday, January 6, 2014 meeting of the Currituck County Board of Education. Excuse me, Board of Commissioners. Haven't done this in 8 years. We have with us tonight for our invocation Father Jim McGee. If he would come forward, he's from St. Luke's Episcopal Church, to give us our Pledge of Allegiance and to add a word of thanks. Father Jim, we could all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My first time here, and I appreciate the invitation. If you bow your head and let us pray. Almighty God, whose great commandment is that we shall love our neighbor as ourselves, and who taught us that we should do to others as we would have them do to us. We ask your blessings this day on the Currituck County Commissioners as they prepare to do the people's work. As their purpose is to provide a good quality of life for Currituck County and to promote all that is good in the life of our community. So we pray that you will mold their hearts and minds, that in all that they undertake your will may be done, and that through their God-given wisdom and love of the people of this county, spread the spirit of fellowship and goodwill throughout the community. And during this turmoil at home and abroad, give us all faith to believe that you make all things work together for good to them that love you. Strengthen our conviction that your hand is upon us. Even though during this time of worldwide turmoil and uncertainty, let us be willing to take one step at a time and trust you for the rest. We pray for the men and women in the armed forces at home and abroad. Protect them, O Lord, wherever they may be. Give them courage in their time of trial and an abiding sense of your presence. We also pray that the forces of evil everywhere will be overcome, and that your goodness and mercy will prevail and abound. We pray for peace in the world. O Lord, be present with these thy servants this evening, that everything said and done will be acceptable to you. For it is in Christ's holy name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr.
Father
Chairman.
Jim, thank you very much. I think Commissioner Griggs has something to share with you.
I just wanted to make note for the audience and those viewing tonight that Father McGee and I share something in common, and that's the honor that we had in serving our country as special agents to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Father Jim got a head start on me. He served in the 60s, and I served in the 80s and the 90s into 2000. But I just wanted to take note of that, and it's a very elite club. Thank you.
Thank you for those good words. And true enough, they are. It's a wonderful organization, one that stays with you forever.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take leave now because I need a ball game to see.
Thank you, Father.
Can I go?
We'll move on next to public comment. Excuse me. The approval of the agenda, and we have two items to change on the agenda. One would be to take item 3, item from the consent agenda, and move it to new business A, award contracts for landscaping maintenance, and to add a budget request from the Sheriff's Department as item 10 on the consent agenda. Now I would ask for a motion for approval.
I move for approval.
Have a second. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Let us move on We will now go to public comment. I would ask when you come forward to state your name and address, please. Please know that this is for those items that are not on the agenda. If you wish to speak to some item that's on the agenda, you can do that when that item is called. The first person I have is Mary Etheridge.
Good evening. My name is Mary Etheridge, and I live at 846 Shawboro Road, Shawboro. Since we're only 6 days into the new year, I thought it would be appropriate to reflect on the past and to keep a resolution I made to myself several months ago to make sure every citizen of Currituck County is aware of what my family and I have endured since 2011. As the Chinese teacher and philosopher Confucius said, faced with what is right, to leave it undone shows a lack of courage. So I will muster my courage and continue to fight for what is right. My first reflection is a quote from the county attorney at the December the 5th, 2011 commissioner meeting. When asked by Commissioner Martin whether an approval of rezoning on Station Lane in Shawboro would constitute spot zoning, the county attorney stated, and I quote from court records, "It's important for you to make certain findings, particularly with regards to whether there is a reasonable basis for the zoning application. In my opinion, again, it is spot zoning. And so if you want to take in consideration and make sufficient findings in whatever decision you make," end quote. My second reflection is at the same meeting, and also from court records, County Planning Director Ben Woody stated that if approved, the rezoning would constitute spot zoning. He also stated that the planning staff recommended denial of the application. My third reflection is wondering why on September the 3rd of this year, at a commissioner meeting, Chairman O'Neill stated, if someone meets all of the requirements, they certainly have the right for an affirmative vote. Well, in my case, the rezoning met none of the requirements, but the commissioners proved it anyway against everyone's opposition. And my final reflection is, why would the county appeal the rezoning, knowing that the applicant in February of this year withdrew his application, knowing that the applicant did not own the 1.1 acres of land, and knowing that the landowner had never shown any interest whatsoever in rezoning. Oh, that's right. The Daily Advance in their Sunday paper on December the 29th, 2013, stated that the county would not have filed its appeal if the Etheridges had not filed their appeal first. My reflections and quotes from county commissioners' meetings could go on and on and on, but I only have 3 minutes. So I'll leave you with something to reflect on as we go into the new year. And again, quoting Confucius, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Etheridge. Derek Dale, do you wish to speak to an agenda item?
Yes, I will.
The agenda, okay, it wasn't clear here. Next, Joyce Waldy. Please state your name and
Good evening,
address.
ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joyce Waldy. I live over in Braveview Landing. I got the shock of my life Tuesday. My hazardous insurance has gone up. I have a mortgage, so everything I pay is in escrow. Normally, my escrow payments are $130 to $150 shortage. I have no problem with that. My mortgage payment went up to $1,785 that I've got to pay by the 1st. Because after much running around Wednesday and Thursday and Friday of last week, I talked to the fire chief. I talked to everybody down here at the courthouse. It's because I was moved from an MBS 6 to a 9 because we have no fire hydrants in our neighborhood. Now, there was planning for this fire hydrants. I can't afford this. I've put a Band-Aid on it. I went and changed my insurance this morning. But what happens next year when this comes due again? And I'm not the only one this is going to affect. I'm on Social Security. And I've got to, some kind of way, I've got to pay this. Thank you.
Ma'am, what was your address again?
114 Braveview Drive.
What's
Chairman?
Yes.
if I may, what's the nearest fire hydrant from your house?
980 feet on Trevor Way over in Launch Landing, the new Launch Landing, not the old road, the new
Yes, ma'am.
development. I was able to go to Mr. Weatherly. He gave me a map. I took it, and Mr. Mims was going to send over a rebuttal to Nationwide. But like I said, I put a Band-Aid on it, and I changed insurances this morning. But what's going to happen to me next year? And I'm not the only one this is happening to. There are plenty of retired people in that neighborhood, and we're all going to get hit the same way.
Commissioner Petrie.
Ma'am, you said what your new payment was. What was your old payment? How much was the increase?
The increase was $780.
A year?
Yeah.
A month?
That's how, if I don't pay it by the first, that's, my mortgage payment's going to be $1,785.
I know, but how much was your payment prior to?
$1,099,
So it's going up $600 a month.
at least. It's almost $800.
Is that a month or a year?
Is that a month or
I
a
know
year?
That would be my new mortgage payment.
$7,200 a year?
Yeah,
Ma'am,
yeah.
ma'am, what was the explanation from the insurance company?
MBS, I was moved from a 6 to a 9 because there's no fire hydrants in our neighborhood.
That just, no.
All right, I want to make sure that I understand this, because I'm retired, and I know that we're talking.
Want to see my bill?
No, ma'am, I believe you. I just want to make sure that I understand. We're not talking about your annual premium. We're talking about your monthly payment.
If I pay, I always had a shortage, always, and it was between $130 to $150.
Okay?
I got the bill, it's right here. It's gone up. They took it up to $1,729.85. I've got to pay that because it's a shortage. I've got to pay it by February 1st. If I don't pay it by February 1st, my mortgage payment will be $1,729. It will go up because of the escrow. It will go up over $300.
So this is not your escrow shortage. This is what your
That's
monthly
my
payment.
escrow shortage is $785 because of the hazardous insurance.
And you said you previously had about 150, so I mean, it went up basically
Yeah.
$550.
Well, see, that's $550. That's that's $700-800 a year. So okay, thank you.
No, $550 a month, correct?
If I don't pay it,
Yeah.
it's going to go up $1,729.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Scanlon, what has changed in that area? If she was at a 6 rating before, to cause it to go to a 9? Best of my recollection, we approved 2 years ago some stuff to happen up in that area that would bring the insurance rates or the ISO ratings down to a 6 throughout most of those areas. I mean,
Well,
I'm curious as to
nothing's
what's
changed. Nothing's changed in the area. I'm assuming the insurance company must have done a field audit or something to do that. But as far as the functionality of the water system, nothing has changed since the day the subdivision was built. Several years ago, the volunteer fire department Crawford that serves that area
Shuttle system.
came in front of the board and talked about that they were implementing a shuttle system and they were going to get rated by the state to overcome the lack of hydrants in the area. And to my knowledge, that occurred. So I'm at a loss, like you are, to understand why she's getting hit this way.
Well, I certainly think we need to take some type of, inquiry or whatever to see if we can help the lady out. That just don't sound reasonable at all to me.
I got one more
Is that
question.
going to, if that affects everybody in the area, I would definitely say that we need to get an answer to it.
What's the, if she stated she was going from a 6 to a 9, and I don't know all the, if it's law enforcement, I know it, but not the fire, a 6 to a 9, is there a 7 and 8, or is that the next jump?
Yes.
They
There's a
said
7 and
most-
8.
Right.
Knott's Island, because they don't have any. Knott's Island, mind you, is a 9. All those folks over there are 9. They have to get a special underwriter am I going to have to go get a
It-
special underwriter?
It's basically taking the fire department from a rated fire department to an unrated fire department. A 9 is the lowest rating a fire department can have. Basically,
But
it's an unrated.
Yeah, I
And-
thought
and-
their rating was, like I said, most at Crawford. It was. I ate breakfast
Well,
with Chris
it's-
Daly not too long ago. I thought it was a 5 or a 6.
It is, but you've got to be within a prescribed distance of a fire hydrant and a prescribed distance from the fire station to be able to enjoy that rating, because all the fire departments are split. And I believe what she's commenting is they're questioning that her distance from a fire hydrant is beyond, I think it's 1,000 foot, that you have to be.
1,000 foot.
You got to be
I'm
within
900.
1,000 foot of a fire hydrant in order to take advantage of the 6. You got to be within, I think, 5 miles of the station, within 1,000 foot of a fire hydrant in order to be able to take advantage of the 6. If you're not, then you drop back to a 9. And it looks like her insurance company has made that adjustment on her.
The shuttle system that we just spoke of was supposed to remedy that. The shuttle system was something that would be in lieu of that 1,000-foot hydrant
Correct.
distance. That's something that they were working on to get rated, that then would bring those ratings to a 6. And as far as Knott's Island is concerned, man, the reason that we have to do the special underwriter, I live at Knott's Island. The reason we have to do that is because we're on that side of the intercoastal waterway, and we come in the storm hazard area, just like the Outer Banks. And that's why. You get across on this side of the intercoastal waterway, the rates are different than they are on the other side. And so that's the reason for that there.
Yes. I'm sorry, man, I'm asking so many questions, but I'm
glad.
dumbfounded.
I'm glad.
Okay. When you, I'm assuming you got a second opinion from another homeowner's insurance
I
company.
went this morning and changed.
Okay, did they rate
We're
you?
able to.
I know, but they didn't rate you as a 9, did
Oh,
they?
no, they did not.
Okay, so is it possible that this could be an insurance company issue that other companies don't see it this way?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
All right, would you do us a favor, please, because we need to know so we don't get caught off guard? Would you leave your name and number or call tomorrow so we can stay in touch? Because if we get caught off guard with this, we don't have enough space in here to put the people. But to me, it sounds like the insurance company made a mistake. But please keep us posted because
They were
this.
adamant when I talked to them.
Well,
Thursday.
trust me, insurance companies aren't. If you look at the top of the list of favorite people, they don't always rate up there. Okay, so please keep us.
No, just kidding.
Please keep us posted on that because this is serious, and
Oh, it is.
we empathize with you.
I
Really.
mean, I was scared to death.
I don't blame you, ma'am, because that's a net number. Because if it's 550, you got to make 900 to cover 550.
Exactly. I was going to have to use part of my Social Security check.
Did you get satisfaction with the new company and get
Yes.
it back to where it's reasonable?
Well, I have to wait and see.
Okay.
I just did it this
suspect
morning.
You probably will. We'll see. But let us know, please.
Certainly will.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just staying on the same topic, it's my understanding that the insurance commissioner for North Carolina approved a rate increase, I believe, this last summer. I think it was in June or July.
Last
And
year.
last
12%.
We're getting ready to second one.
And now we're looking at a proposed for an increase within, was it this month? Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up, so we're looking at about 6 months from when they got the last increase to when they're going to ask for another increase. And I know this board's looking at that, and we're trying to look at some sort of appropriate action we can take to, and maybe a team with some other counties to petition the insurance commissioner that, enough's enough. And, the double whammy is, and probably even more so that we're looking at, is I was going to say proposed changes, but the changes just went into effect January 1st for the bigger waters flood insurance rewrite. That's going to visit all sorts of dire, or have all sorts of dire consequences on certainly on this county and coastal counties. And it just seems like I don't know what we can do as a board to try to change this, but we're talking some serious economic conditions that are going to fall on this county that can have devastating effect going forward for all of us, not just those people in flooding. And now if you get with the increase for homeowners insurance thrown in there, I mean, there's just only so much we can take. And but I know this board's going to work together and try to do whatever we can to, and we are having calls and we are trying to petition people in Raleigh going forward to try to address this. But, you know, you people can help too.
Yes.
By contacting your representatives and letting them know, because let me tell you something, that this is going to affect all of us, and it's going to be a significant effect.
Mr. Scanlon?
All right.
In our next newsletter, can we, I know that the insurance companies are asking for up to a 25% rate hike, as Mr. Griggs alluded to. I know the insurance commissioner has stated it's ludicrous, and that he sees certainly no reason for that, and he's going to make them go through the full hearing process. As that hearing process goes on, you'll have the opportunity to make comments, public comments, to a certain, I don't know the address. I'll ask Mr. Scanlon to get that and put it together at our next commissioners meeting. I'll ensure that we put it on the screen. And then after that, our next newsletter, let's publish it and put it in that as to where they can write or email to pass on their displeasure about another rate increase for insurance. As far as Bigot Waters is concerned, the main thing that we need to do there is get our governor and our state legislatures engaged. They have not been engaged, and they need to be. And if they don't, North Carolina's going to end up losing. So
Big time.
there's what needs to be done there.
Big time.
And our federal representatives, our senator has failed to move on this so far, and so both of them. So we need to do something. Mr. James Elder is next.
I'm relinquishing my speech tonight to the homeowners association president, who was too late to sign in.
That's fine. Come forward, sir. And if you wish to speak, you still can, Mr. Elder. State your name and address for the record.
I'm Larry Michelle. I'm at 117 Waters Drive, and I'm in the homeowners association that Joyce was commenting on. We have been striding to get some kind of fire hydrants into our neighborhood for several years, and it would sure be helpful if the county could help us along those roads. Our taxes have gone up tremendously this last couple of years. We haven't seen any improvement in our neighborhood. We're about 100 houses. That's a fair amount of people that need help. And basically, we sit back, and we're back on a single lane road that leads into us. And some of the insurance companies have spoken to the idea that we're not within 1,000 foot of the hydrants because it's by way of the road. Well, it's a mile by the time you get out of our neighborhood and over to the next one. So if there was some way that we could get fire hydrants moved into our neighborhood or proximity to us, it would sure be beneficial. If necessary, I believe we could even convince the people that they need to bring up some cash and have a hit against their property to support this. But I can't speak for everybody at this point. But we're looking for any means possible that we could get fire hydrants to our area. All right.
All right.
Mr.
Thank
Manager,
you, Mr. Elder.
Mr. Manager, what would the cost be to put a couple fire hydrants in that neighborhood?
In fact, the community has already met with the fire marshal and the engineer, and they have done some preliminary drawings of what it would take and how many hydrants in order to get that community fully rated. I don't recall off the top of my head how much that was. It's a significant amount of money. I believe where we left it off, we were talking to the community about an assessment, and I believe we were talking it would have to go well over 15, 20 years of assessments in order to make it be affordable for the property owners to be able to afford the cost to go in, and that's kind of where the conversation is at this time.
Mr. Chairman.
But also would couple that with the conversation we had earlier where I'm under the impression that the volunteer fire department was also working on an alternative method of getting that area rated, or all areas within their fire district, by using a shuttle method.
Is there some way that we could ask for an
We can.
informal
We can.
update on that,
Yes, sir.
or a formal update?
Yes,
I
sir.
would just assume for him to come forward.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, I ate breakfast with Chris. I don't know, it was probably a month ago daily, and I mean, I remember he was saying, you know, they were a six, and they were trying to move forward with their equipment and so forth and so on, you know, to getting it to a 5. So I mean,
Well, it's an acceptable solution, shuttle service, and you got to have manpower, you got to have equipment, shuttle trucks, tankers, and demonstrate that you can do that over a period of time to maintain a certain amount of water. If they can do that and show it, then they can get credit for that to get that level. And I know they've been working on that,
Well-
and your area is one of the ones that would be included in that.
One thing, you said that Eric had an assessment, our county engineer?
Well, they've done a preliminary design of what it would take to, how many hydrants and how to pipe the community in order to be able to cover the full community. Because I remind you that Braveview is not the only community that has been built that doesn't have hydrants. But I can't recall the exact price, but it's a significant price to be able to bring the hydrants into the community.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is one of the things that we've got that we're going to be talking about is new developments that are not within a certain range of miles to our current water system.
That is part of the conversation with the Waterline Extension Project that the board asked us to bring a policy back on. Yes, sir.
Right, but the thing of it is, it has to be realistic. So, you know, that's,
Well, and that was one of my comments to be, is to make note to the board going forward that we're going to have this discussion about developments beyond the 1 mile and the requirement that is being requested to be changed, that monies be escrowed for waters. And I would just ask the board to take note that these are possible consequences of not doing the due diligence going forward,
Thank you.
doing due diligence going forward to protect those residents of our counties that will, or of our county that will find themselves in the virtually untenable situation that this gentleman is bringing before us tonight. So actions, whether you, actions done or actions not done, have consequences. So I would just want the board to take note of that when we visit this. Is it in March?
First meeting in February is when they've been instructed.
First
to have a
meeting in
report.
February, where we visit this very issue going forward on future development in this county. There's a saying, you can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Amen.
The difference is who pays. If you go later versus if you have it done at the time the development goes in.
I would also say that if you have a plan, it has to be a plan in place, not an indefinite date that could go on forever. We have to be able to say, within a certain period of time, we're going to live up to our end of the deal, and that's the hard part.
Well, and I think that's the juxt of the conversation that'll have to be discussed.
Well, this is an ongoing issue throughout the county, so we've definitely got to address it and take some action. So I echo what you're saying, Mr. Griggs, is this is something we have to be mindful for.
Well, in this one issue, I think staff is looking at it, and hopefully the people in Braveview, you will be able to get an answer as far as a hydrant and what it would be.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you, sir.
Make sure you get up with the county manager tomorrow and give him your name and number, please. Sure. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? I believe everyone else who signed up is waiting for, I believe, Moyock Crossing. Am I missing anyone? Is there anyone else wishes to speak in the public comment? If not, I will now close the public comment. We will now move to the administrative report, a presentation by the Wheeler family. Mr. Scanlon?
I believe we have representatives from the Wheelers family here. Teresa and her family would like to do a presentation for the Board of Commissioners.
Oh,
Ask them to come forward.
Good evening. First and foremost, we'd like to thank the board for allowing us the opportunity to make this presentation tonight. Today marks the 6-month date of the passing of lifetime Currituck resident, John Wheeler Sr., our father and a husband. Our father made a dedication to this community to make sure that public safety was at the forefront. And he dedicated 32 years of his life to making sure that public safety was at the forefront within the Crawford, Moyock townships as president of the fire department, as well as EMS throughout the county. Dad was also a member of the fire board, fire safety board, and just loved it, loved everything about it, and actually got upset when he had to miss work there towards the end. But at this time, we would like to take this opportunity to present to the Currituck EMS a special presentation, and the
It's for the children of Currituck.
Right. The presentation for something that Dad lived up to, and that was the education of young people here in the county of public safety and fire safety. And so we would like to present Currituck County EMS with Andy the Ambulance, something that they can use for educational purposes.
John?
My name is Andy the Ambulance, and I've been asked to join the fleet here in Currituck County. I am so excited to meet all of the young people and talk to them about safety, what number to call when you get sick or hurt, and basically that all us fire and EMS people were just good, trying to help.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, that happens when I get excited.
Johnny,
On behalf of the
can I say
Wheeler
thank you?
family, we would like to present to the citizens of Currituck County by the Wheeler family in memory of Johnny Wheeler Sr., our beloved father and husband, Andy the Ambulance. Thank you.
Johnny, thank you very much.
It'll go to any public safety education classes that the county is going to be throwing at any schools, churches, and daycares.
I'm sorry, did you have questions for Andy? Commissioner McCord, could you tell me the number to call if you get sick or hurt?
It's 911 or either my cell phone. I think they call that one too.
Very good! That makes me so excited.
The Currituck County
Dan.
Fire and EMS would like to thank the Wheeler family for this great donation. Thank y'all so much.
We're going to have to add to next year's budget to get a law enforcement one because every kid in the county is now going to want to be a fireman instead of a cop. So I'm jealous.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm afraid that all the children out here are going to try to.
That's a special session after the meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
make a comment.
Comment, yes, sir.
From a personal standpoint, I know your dad, went to school with him. He was a fine man, we miss him. And you're right, he gave a lot of time and effort in Currituck County on a lot of different levels. And we certainly appreciate what you have done here. I will tell you from my experience in my career, I spent 27 years in the fire service as well. Those things work, buddy. Kids take to them. They listen. They're messages that get across. Adults can try to talk to them and teach them things. They don't pay any attention. Let something like that come in the room and see where they go. That is
Right.
a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
A wonderful donation. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Wow, it's a great way to start out a new year, isn't it? All right, we'll now move to public hearing. Public hearing in action For PB 88-66, the Village at Ocean Hills requests to amend a sketch plan and use permit to remove Lot 273 from the plan unit development, tax map 114, partial 3R, Popular Branch Township. Yes, sir. Ben? The swearing in. All those who have an interest here, who wants to be heard on this particular item, come forward. You will have to be sworn in. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You are sworn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the next two agenda items are actually related. They're two actions, but they're for the same property and basically the same case. So I'd like to do one presentation, one staff presentation for both items all together, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
I need to read that into the minutes also. The
No,
second one, or we can just.
Why don't you go ahead for the record, read that in, and then, as I understand, the plan director will be presenting both, but you will need to vote on each application separately.
All right. Let me go ahead and read that in then. The second one would be PB 13-29 TFP LLC request for conditional rezoning from a single-family Outer Banks and a PUD overlay to a CD-GB conditional district general business, tax map 114, partial 3R and 20, Poplar Branch Township.
Thank you again, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
sir.
So this is a request in the Crawler Village area of the Outer Banks. And the first part of this is, and you can see on your screen, there's a small tract of land that's highlighted in red. It's off Crawler Village Road, and it is actually part of the Villages at Ocean Hill Plan Unit Development. And as you know, that's one of the PUDs over on the beach. The Village at Ocean Hill actually has 299 lots. It's a PUD. This is actually lot 273. The first part of this proposal is to remove that lot from the Villages at Ocean Hill Plan Unit Development. Once removed, they're going to then recombine this with a lot to the south, and that's where you're seeing the conditional district general business rezoning. I'm not going to spend much time on this. I'll note it's unusual because this little lot is part of the VOH PUD, but it's actually not accessible through the Villages at Ocean Hill. So it's just a little residual piece that kind of lays out on Crawler Village Road. The Homeowners Association for that PUD has been approached. They have no concerns with this being removed from the PUD. They wrote a letter as such supporting that. It has no impact. Basically, removal of this lot reduces the PUD's required open space by 0.32 acres, but subsequently reduces the PUD's required open space area by 0.112 acres. So it's very negligible in terms of what this results in. So again, provided that tract is removed from the PUD, you then have this request, which is the rezoning. And this rezoning is a conditional district general business, and I'm going to spend a little more time on this part of the case analysis. As you can see on the property, currently the two tracts in question are zoned single-family Outer Banks. You can see directly to the east of the property, there's conditional district general business that already exists. To the south of the property, you have the Crawler Chapel, which is zoned residential, and then catty corner across the street, you have another tract of land that's zoned general business. So you can see this tract of land at the corner of Persimmon and Crawler Village Road does have a lot of commercial, institutional, and commercial zoning in close proximity to it. Land use plan designates this area as full service. There's a small portion of it that's designated conservation. The Crawler Village Small Area Plan actually designates the entire tract as mixed use. So you can see generally the planning documents we have in place support this rezoning request. This is an elevation. What's proposed, this is a conditional zoning, so the elevations and the conceptual plan that I'll show you are incorporated into this request. So again, when you approve conditional zonings, you're actually seeing a development plan for what the request is, so you know what you're approving. In this particular case, it is a 10-bedroom inn. The county classifies inns as hotels, basically, which requires a general business zoning. Again, the majority of the property is supported for this type of development in our adopted plans. There is a portion of the parking area that's located in a conservation designation. So what the staff has done in light of this is asked the applicants to integrate what's called low-impact development. In short, that means The areas of the parking lot that are in a conservation area, they're going to do things such as porous pavement, have buffers between the runoff and the asphalt, do things that kind of minimize the impact on some of the wetlands, which they've agreed to do, the applicant has. You can see here's a front elevation for the proposed 10-bedroom inn. Basically looks similar to the architectural style you already see in the village, so in that standpoint, staff thinks it's a good fit. There you can see one of the side elevations for the property. You can see on the site plan that the proposed building is oriented or closer toward the street frontages. The parking is kind of tucked into the lot that's being removed from the PUD, so that won't be as visible from people that are in the village walking or using this property. The Technical Review Committee has reviewed this request, and the TRC does recommend approval. This is a conditional zoning, so along with the TRC recommendation, there's a condition to provide pedestrian circulation from the buildings to the right-of-way, which is important in Crawler Village because that's a very walkable area in the county. Building construction to be reflective of the historic architecture, which I think you can see has been accomplished with the elevation that's proposed. Show that one more time. And then finally, the property be developed in accordance with the conceptual development plan you see before you tonight. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Oh, the planning board heard this request, and they too recommended approval of the removal from the PUD and the rezoning. So I can answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Eilert?
Ben, you say that part of the parking is in a conservation area?
That's correct.
Okay. The low impact, that meets the requirements of the county?
It does, yes, sir.
Okay. So that's okay. Good to go.
Yes, we've typically required that when we've encroached in conservation areas.
Okay. You also said the homeowners association is in agreement and no problems with them?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And they had the community meeting. There was no negative impact?
They did.
No negative comments?
They did. I should have mentioned that. As part of conditional zoning, they had to conduct a community meeting, which they did, and there was not negative comments at that meeting. There were questions, but nothing negative.
Okay, and everything they're doing is in compliance with the small area plan work that's being done? Or
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Patrick, your question?
This is primarily for my information. What's the difference in a 10-bedroom inn and a 24-bedroom house?
Duration of the stay, and that one's built to a commercial construction standard and one's not.
Like sprinkler systems, things like that?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to understand. So when a person comes in, they can say, I'm building a house, 24 bedrooms, but it's not an inn.
Perhaps. It's a difficult question to answer.
Is that like a definite maybe?
Yeah,
They
definite
have an
maybe.
extremely large family.
This is a different zoning.
I know that, but I'm just saying, when we look at things like that, that's with public safety, is Commissioner Eilers talk about sprinkler systems. That's a big concern, and that's where I'm going with this.
Obviously, anything built to a commercial construction standard is going to be a safer structure. So the answer to that is yes, that's a safer. This would be probably a safer structure than a large residential house.
Safer structure, and it will be required to have sprinkler systems.
Lighted exits, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
But you know where I'm going with this, 24
Yeah,
bedrooms
sure.
compared to 10. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? I'll now open public comment section. You can open up the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak upon this.
Good evening to the board. My name is Derek Dale. I work with Quabble and Associates, and I prepared most of the documents that you have before you that are in the package, and really here to address any concerns that you guys may have regarding the project. As far as the development concerned, it's a relatively low impact development. The design concept is roughly about 21% lot coverage, which is lower than the NCDNR requirement for low density development in the area. So it's fairly low impact. It's not trying to max out the parcel or anything like that.
Any questions?
None from
No
me.
questions for him?
Comment.
Any other comments, sir?
Well, I'll make it after I make the motion. Yeah.
All right. Well, if no one else wishes to comment on this, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and Ask for action.
Mr. Chairman, on PB 8866, Villages in Ocean Hill, I move to approve PB 8866 with staff findings and recommendations included in the case analysis. On to PB I can do that.
I would suggest that
Okay.
you
You do.
entertain a
I'll
second
second
and
that
then act on
motion.
that motion.
I'll
All
second
right.
the motion.
Okay.
We've heard a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now, sir.
Mr. Chairman, to PB 1329, TFP LLC, conditional zoning. Move to approve PB 1329 as presented by staff due to its consistency with the 2006 land use plan, and that the request is reasonable and in the public interest.
I will also second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion carries.
I'll make my comment now.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think this is a good project myself personally, and from what I have understood about it, and I talked with Mr. Woody at length today, it's a little different than it brings an alternative to housing or to our tourism, tourism stays where people can stay instead of renting a house for a week. It'll give people opportunity to come and stay for a day or two, a couple days, and I think it's good.
I agree. It is, and we probably need more of that on the Outer Banks rather than some of the 24-bedroom homes. Right, Mr. Petrie? Yes, sir.
Well, we had a study last year from Judy Randall, and one of the big suggestions that they said that Currituck County really needs to work on is short stays for old folks like me and my wife that will come and stay for 2 or 3 days, but we don't need a house for a week. So I applaud the people doing this. This is a good thing.
All right. Any other comments? We'll move on then to item C, public hearing and action, PB 13-27, Troy Moser, request for use, permit to operate a pawn shop Moyock at 417A Currituck Highway, Moyock Shopping Plaza, tax map 9A, parcel 55, Moyock Township. Mr. Woody, Mr. Moser, if you'd come forward, please. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You're sworn. Thank you. Mr. Woody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for a use permit for a pawn shop in the Moyock Township. You can see on the aerial photograph there the shopping center property for which the use is proposed. Property is currently zoned GB, as is much of the road frontage in Moyock. Pawn shops are allowed in the GB zoning district with the use permit. Land use plan designates the area as full service within the land use plan, so that supports your basic retail and office type uses on the corridor. This property is about 3.46 acres. This is just a shop in the overall larger shopping center. As is required for rezonings, a community meeting was held on September 17th, 2013. The only attendees at the meeting were county staff and those associated with the business operation, so we didn't have citizens that came to the meeting. The applicant is requesting to operate the pawn shop in this building. It is our first pawn shop request under the new UDO, and therefore is here for a use permit tonight. In your staff report, there are findings you're required to make in order to issue a use permit. Staff has suggested recommended findings. I'm not going to read through those, but they're in your staff report if you have questions. The planning board heard this request at their December meeting, and they did recommend approval with staff recommendations. The TRC also recommended approval with one condition: that outdoor storage and display is not allowed under this permit. That can be allowed, but it's another permitting process you go through to do that. So the use permit basically just permits the use of the property as a pawn shop. And with that, I can answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
Mr. Woody, the staff findings, is it just one, A, that's it?
There's 4 findings, and for each, A would be the findings that we've made. If you look in your staff report, there's, for example, the first finding is the use will not endanger the public health or safety.
What page?
2 of 7.
2-7?
Page 2 of 7. Second page of the of the staff report. And I don't know what the Adobe page is on your.
I haven't found it here. Mine goes from
Page 45,
45. Okay. Got it. Thank you. I'm sorry.
under item number 2, correct?
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there, Mr. Woody, if I may ask, is there any additional requirements as far as, I know, as far as like if somebody has a gun shop or something like that, I know Mr. Moser currently has one, and I'm sure, some of that stuff will be intertwined. As far as the bill, is he having, I believe, does he rent 2 buildings from Mr. Humphreys at this time? Is there going to be a third?
I believe he has 2 spaces, and to my knowledge, he's going to utilize those spaces for the pawn shop. But there are you have the use permit requirement in order to pawn items, but there's additional when you operate as a pawn shop. There's general statutory requirements that apply, and I want to say the attorney can answer this better. There's a code of ordinances requirement for pawn shop operation as well.
The county does have a long-standing provision in the code of ordinances regulating pawn shops. So in addition to this approval, Mr. Moser also is having to go through an application process under that county ordinance to actually be able to operate the pawn shop.
I'm sure there's probably some too with the state as well.
Well, the county ordinance is based on the
The
state
states.
statute enabling act, yes.
I'm sure Mr. Moser is aware of those.
Yes, I've met
Just
with
getting-
him and
all right.
provided him with the application. I even talked with his insurance agent recently about the surety bond, so I know he's got that in process.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I would like to say that when we initially heard this, I had some reservations based on phone calls. So I went by to see firsthand Mr. Moser's operation. It's first class. And there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to do a good job. So I appreciate you doing that and answering all the concerns that people had.
Any other questions? I'll open up the public hearing. Mr. Moser, you have anything you'd like to say, sir? Come forward. Anyone else? No one signed up?
I'd like to make a comment too,
Yes,
just
sir.
maybe to further educate with the law enforcement background. We solve a lot of crimes here in the county. As wide as Williamsburg, I found stolen property from something that was stolen from a citizen's home. And most of the pawn shops, there's a few, and I'm not going to say the municipalities in the Tidewater area that aren't as cooperative, but I know in Elizabeth City, and like I said, Mr. Moser, he's a businessman. He's lived in the county for probably a decade or so. We solve a lot of crime. Somebody steals something. Criminals aren't very smart. They steal something and they just, they take it right in their backyard. Not saying he's going to buy stolen goods, but a lot of people have recollections with, having something like that in their backyard. It's not a bad thing. It assists law enforcement. Like I said, I could just name probably 100 cases that were solved last year from just pawn shops in Elizabeth City, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach. And, it's crazy. You call. And with technology today online, you can see if the county manager pawned stuff, you could see what he pawned and run it, and you could see what he pawned. Not that he's pawning something. Didn't mean to throw you under the bus there, Dan. But we're just using you as an example. He's across me. You can run a pawn check and see what anybody's pawning. So
Can I get sworn in and give testimony now, please?
Yeah, didn't mean to throw him, but like I said, you can see what somebody's pawning, and obviously if you see, a young male pawning women's jewelry. Like I said, criminals aren't very smart. We've solved a lot of cases, compliments of pawn shops. So it's not a bad thing.
Any other comments? Yes, sir. Mr. Moser, come forward, please.
We've already installed a point-of-sale system called Inflow, which is a very direct type of computer system. Not only does it, catalog the serial numbers, the persons, the photographs, and also the IDs. So that's already in place. We're looking forward to working with law enforcement on this. We thought for the last 8 months on this, gave it a lot of thought with the concerns of the county. And the most thing is that we're staying with our core business. We already have a lot of mandates through the ATF. We work very closely with the ATF, and even in solving gun crimes. We do a lot of that stuff as far as up as Philadelphia and Boston. We've gotten phone calls. So records keeping has always been in our top priority, and it will be with the pawn shop too.
All right.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
other comments?
I'd
Yes,
like to
ma'am.
make one comment. Pawn shops and the perception have changed over the years. I work for a government contractor, and we have equipment that disappears on a regular basis throughout the shipyards. And I've been to plenty of pawn shops, and I want to commend you for bringing that into the county. It is something that is definitely a reputable business, and with all the guidelines that you have to set forth that you have to abide by, it's I mean, there's a no issue. I mean, no error. I mean, there's so many guidelines that you have to follow that it's just a non-issue.
Well,
So-
and it's a personal loss for us and our company.
Correct.
We take it very serious.
Well, and with that, I'd like to make a motion once.
Well, I'll now close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to move to approve PB 1327 with the staff findings and recommendations included in the case analysis.
I'll second.
I have a second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations and good luck on your new business, Mr. Moser. Next, item D, public hearing and action on PB 13-17, Moyock Crossing, request for a preliminary plat use permit for 90 residential lots in a conservation subdivision located in Moyock on the north side of Shingle Landing Road, approximately 260 feet east of Fox Lane, tax map 9, partial 41, Moyock Township. All those who wish to speak
Need to be sworn.
is a swearing in. Come forward. Left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand.
You can hold somebody else's hand.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You are sworn. Thank you. You can take your seat. And now, Mr. Woody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for a preliminary plat special use permit for a 90-lot conservation subdivision in the Moyock Township. You can see the on the aerial photograph the property's highlighted. It has two portions of the property that are uplands that are currently under cultivation, and you can see the tributaries to the Shingle Landing Creek where the trees are that are primarily wetlands and conservation areas. Property is zoned single-family mainland, which does allow conservation subdivisions, and that's why this is here before you tonight as a preliminary plat use permit. You can see on the zoning map there is pretty much single-family mainland that surrounds the property in terms of zoning. There's general business to the south, southwest, and of course, a portion of the property, Shingle Landing Phase 2, it touches that. A portion of the property touches Shingle Landing Phase 2, which is zoned general business. Land use plan designates the majority of the site as full service. You can see some of the wetlands along Shingle Landing Creek are designated as rural. As a matter of fact, the site's 58.16 acres and 47.68 acres of the site is full service and 10.48 acres is rural. So again, the majority of it's full service. The proposal is for 90 lots. I want to go through this. The minimum lot size is 9,080 square feet. The average lot size is 13,030 square feet, and there's 90 lots. So the overall density for the tract as a whole is 1.55 units per acre. Again, that's a gross density for the tract. It is required to provide open space, actually 30% open space, or 40% open space, excuse me. So you have 23.36 acres of open space provided. Of that 23 plus acres, 20 of its primary conservation area, and what that means is the areas that you saw on that map as wetlands and wooded areas. Obviously, all that goes into open space, and that's about 20 acres. And you've got about 2.5 acres of secondary open space, and that's the areas where you'll see stormwater ponds or maybe buffers or other type of open space amenities. This utility-wise, this subdivision is proposed to connect to county water. It also proposes to connect to the county wastewater system in Moyock. As you know, our new UDO requires and I got to quit calling it new, it's the UDO, requires a parkland, recreation and park area dedication. In this instance, the dedication amount was 2.3 acres. The TRC is recommending that in lieu of that dedication, a payment be provided in lieu of, and the payment amount would be $12,698.25. Again, so that's the difference in the dedication amount and the payment that would be required in the ordinance. You have not seen this subdivision request, but you almost saw the subdivision request. In November 4th of 2013, there was a text amendment provided to the board, or presented to the Board of Commissioners, that proposed to reduce the intersection spacing to 200 feet. That was not approved, so this subdivision was then redesigned, and that's why you see a cul-de-sac on one of the internal streets of the subdivision rather than connecting back to the main road. It went back to the planning board, now it's back before you tonight, and it does meet the intersection spacing requirement of the UDO. Proposed development provides street interconnectivity to the Shingle Landing subdivision. You can see on the north side of that map there is a street that connects into a future street to be built with Phase 2 of Shingle Landing. So that is an important piece of connectivity to get people down to Shingle Landing Road, excuse me, yes. Open space improvements, you've got a lot of wetlandsy open space and stormwater features, but you also, the developer's proposing elevated boardwalk that connects to the Shingle Landing Creek and recreational vehicle parking. So there are a few amenities in the open space. As part of your review process for preliminary plat use permits, you have to make certain findings to approve the subdivision plan. Those findings are in your staff report. There's 4 of those. The staff has provided recommended findings. I do want to mention that when this went to the planning board, staff had raised an issue with compatibility between the Fox Run and Shingle Landing Farm subdivisions to the west and this subdivision. At that meeting, the developer presented a plan that reduced the number of lots adjoining those existing subdivisions and increased the lot widths to 125 feet, and also provided a 10-foot buffer. So in response to the staff concern over compatibility, the plan was amended to provide some larger lot sizes adjoining the existing subdivisions to the west. The Technical Review Committee has reviewed this request. The TRC does recommend conditional approval. There are about 17 conditions in the approval, so I'm not going to read all 17 of those. Most of those are pretty simple plan corrections, things that really aren't that significant. A number of the TRC conditions have been corrected in a subsequent revised plan, but I just want to note that there are conditions that TRC is recommending if this is approved. The planning board heard this request at their December meeting. The planning board recommended approval of the initial request, and of course they heard this again when it was revised to redraw the intersection space. And the planning board did recommend approval on a 6-2 vote. As part of the planning board's recommendation of approval, they too recommended conditions. And I'll go through those real quick. The planning board recommended that crosswalks be included to intersections in order to prevent sidewalks in the wetlands. So basically where there's wetland crossings, have one sidewalk and crosswalks to get you back and forth. Continue sidewalks on both sides of the road to the north end of the subdivision. Reduce the number of lots adjacent to the Fox Run subdivision from 9 to 5 and incorporate a 125-foot lot width. That goes back to the compatibility concern I mentioned earlier. Provide a 10-foot wide evergreen buffer at the back of the 5 lots and lots 49 and 50 that adjoin Fox Run and Shingle Landing. I'll note that buffer that's being provided between these proposed lots and the existing larger lots. It is a 10-foot buffer, and it is required to have evergreen plantings, but that buffer will be on the private lots in an easement. So it's not an open space. It's a buffer that is in the easement on those lots. And then finally, the planning board recommended that an 8-foot sidewalk be installed along Crossing Avenue, which is the main thoroughfare through this subdivision, on one side of the street. And that provides just a little more, just a wider sidewalk for folks that are walking down that main access road there. And with that, that concludes staff's presentation, and I can answer any questions you have.
Any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Wood.
Yes, sir.
What's the You said the smallest lots were 9,000 square feet?
Yeah, the minimum lot size is 9,080 square feet, 9,080.
And their average lot
The
being
average lot size
13,000?
is 13,030 square feet.
What's the average lot size in Creekside, Shingle Landing?
I don't have the specific number for that, but I would say it's probably close to 40,000 square feet.
Which, I mean, an acre's 43,560
43,560
is an acre.
I'd have, staff would have to analyze that to tell you for sure, but.
Like, it's just a question. Thank you.
Mr. Woody, what's a comparable neighborhood to that size? Would that Eagle Creek or?
Eagle Creek, I believe, is about 10,000 square feet. That was done before I was here, but I think those are
smaller.
Around 10. Off the top of my head, River's Edge up here in Currituck, that's about 17 to 20,000 square foot lots in terms of lot size.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Mr. Woody, how much public comment was made when this project first came forward? Do you have any idea of the number of people who appeared before the planning board?
At the planning board, I believe we had the last planning board meeting. I believe there was, and I wasn't at the last planning board meeting, so I'm going to preface that. But I believe in the minutes there was 3 speakers.
Let me see.
At the first planning board meeting, there was probably a similar number of speakers, 3 to 4. Now, I will say, and it's probably the case tonight, is the speakers have tended to represent other groups of people.
All right, thank you.
What's the average square footage of the homes that are being proposed?
I don't know the answer to that. The applicant would have to answer that.
Okay. And I was looking at the price range also.
Yes, Mr. Petrie.
How does this fit with, we've been working on the Moyock Small Area Plan for what, a year?
Probably a little more than that, yeah.
Okay, how does this fit into where the Moyock Small Area Plan has been going and what the people in Moyock are, the feedback that we've gotten?
Well, I'll make two comments on that. And the first one, respectfully, is that since that plan is not adopted policy, it really has no bearing on your decision-making tonight in terms of plan. Secondly, I'm not sure that I can, we're close. I mean, we're close to getting to the conclusion of that planning effort, but we need to review a final draft as a steering committee and a group, and I'm not sure I can say exactly how this fits into that yet with certainty. I just don't think we're not at the end of that road yet where I can say that.
Okay.
I have one more question. What's
Yes, sir.
the capacity now currently of the wastewater, new wastewater plant in Moyock? Is this part of that?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Woody? Yes, sir.
I'm assuming each one of these homes are paying a tap fee,
They will.
$6,000.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll now open up the public hearing. We have first signed up, yes, it is Joe Drago.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Hyman and his group.
Well, I was going to say, that I think it would be appropriate at this point to allow for the applicant to make
The
their
applicant
presentation.
come forward and make a presentation, I'm sorry.
And
Yes,
answer
sir.
any of your questions.
All right.
Good evening. My name's Jason Mazzell with Hyman and Roby, Camden, North Carolina. We're the consulting engineer and surveyor for the G's Group. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight, for you to hear this item. Thanks to Ben and his staff for helping us along this way and helping find solutions to the items that have come up. As Ben mentioned, at the recent planning board meeting, the project as presented. We did make adjustments to the lots along Shingle Landing Farms. Planning Board had recommended the 9 lots along Fox Run. We actually took it a step further and took the 2 lots that were up near Shingle Landing Farms and essentially combined all those down to make much larger lots and still provide that vegetative buffer. In addition to that, to answer the question about the building square footages, the buildings will range probably from 2,500 square foot to 3,000 square foot as far as the living space, and that price range probably $275 to $325. Again, we've poured over this quite a bit with the staff, and staff's report is pretty explicit. I'd be more than happy to answer any direct questions that you guys have in regards to the plan. I will say that we've tried very hard to try to make sure this plan meets the UDO, and that's probably the big ticket item here. Is that we've tried to make sure we've gone over the UDO to its fullest extent to make sure this does meet it. So, thank you.
All right. Any questions?
What about the far as the land? I mean, I know y'all have had to do your testing and so forth. That far as I know that area is typically pretty wet. Right there by Shingle Landing Creek. Far as the lots perking.
On that, where you see the ponds is the lower portions of the site. We have roughly the majority of the site is above 6 foot, which is the base flood. We've got fairly sandy soils on the majority of the site, so we've got a good infiltration rate with that. So septic isn't, or the drainage isn't an issue.
Yeah, because I know you get a couple good rains. The Shingle Landing Creek right there overflows all the time.
Right. Now, like I said, the plan is to have the ponds collect stormwater runoff where everything's being routed either through a pipe system or property line swales to those ponds for holding. And then gradual release back into the tributary.
Any questions, Mr. Patrick?
Mr. Woody, to go back, the stormwater problems we've got at Moyock. Now I know they're going to have ponds there. I'm assuming there was a study to see how this is going to affect Shingle Landing, or we don't have to worry about a stormwater problem over in Shingle Landing because of this.
No. They've done a narrative and some preliminary design work, and of course, if this were approved, the next step they'll go through is construction drawings where they fully engineer it. But I'll go ahead and say that they're going to flow straight into Shingle Landing Creek, and in theory, they're going to shed less water when this is developed than before because of the new stormwater requirements. So from an engineering standpoint, it should not have a negative effect on Shingle Landing Creek and adjoining properties.
Right now, you have zero capture, where obviously a design system is going to provide some capture and storage of that water.
Mr. Norton?
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Woody, I'm making an assumption the stormwater ponds and stuff will have to come under the new stormwater management manual and have to be maintained and inspected and that type of stuff, correct?
That's correct.
And even with the state requirements for the DENR requirements for stormwater ponds, they still have to be maintained and inspected on a regular basis. So
I understand, but we have loads of stormwater ponds out here that has not been maintained and have not been inspected, and that's one of the reasons we have some of the problems today.
Absolutely.
That we have.
Well,
so we're trying to change that.
Absolutely, we fully understand.
What's the size of the? I see. What do we got? 2 big ponds. Is that a?
Yeah, the ponds are. I'd have to go back and look at the exact acreage.
Just ballpark off the top of your head.
Probably
acre and a half, 2 acre.
Acre and a half, probably on the western or southwestern one. The eastern one's probably maybe closer to 2 acres. Of course, you've got area outside of that's going to be. You need at least 15, 20 foot of area to be able to access the pond and be able to maintain it.
Any other questions? Mr. Patrick?
I'm assuming County Water System Services.
Yes.
It will, that's correct.
I guess I'll ask this. I'd just like to hear your input on how this is compatible with the surrounding developments that are around it. I mean, it appears to me that everything around is 40,000 square foot lots, and we're talking quarter-acre lots here? How's that compatible?
Well, and we've heard a lot about the compatibility between different subdivisions. I will share with you Shingle Landing. You've got lots in there that are 25,000 square feet. If you factor in, the amount of area that's essentially unusable from a standpoint of structure standpoint with septic, there's probably 10,000 square feet of those lots that essentially are just yard. You can't really do anything else with them. When we look at the area just across the creek to the south, you've got essentially the core Moyock Village area, and there are many properties within that area that are similar in size to this. When you go west of the highway, behind the commercial properties out on 158, there are quite a few residential subdivisions and lots, the older subdivisions that are similar in size as well, the third of an acre size. So from the standpoint of harmony of the area, we kind of look at this being somewhat of a transition area between the core village and these other subdivisions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Now we open the public hearing. And call your name again. Some people signed up on one sheet and some signed up on the other. Can you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, please? Joe Drago.
Thank you for hearing. I'm Joe Drago, 225 Moyock Landing Drive, and I live in Shingle Landing. I've been there about 4 years. And maybe we should consider tents, Mr. Woody. We could get them more condensed, and we wouldn't have to worry too much about taking the footprint of the house and covering the land. But all kidding aside, the average lot, I'm a realtor for William E. Wood. I've been in the real estate in northeast North Carolina now for going on 12 years. The average lot in Shingle Landing, the average size is 40,000 square feet. The average lot in Wedgwood is much larger with the trailers than what's being proposed in Moyock Crossing. But and we would obviously have to tap the wastewater system in order to make 90 homes go in on less than 26 acres. And we talked about that in November and said if we did that, we would tap 80% of the wastewater system, and that was meant to go down the main corridor for business to bring in employment. But with that aside, let's talk about fire. Let's talk about safety. Let's talk about schools. Let's talk about waste. Let's talk about runoff. And in Shingle Landing, I live on one of the big ditches. And actually, when we have a quick northeast rain that comes down in 4 hours, that ditch makes my property look like waterfront property, Mr. Woody. It hasn't come up into my yard because I've got a very high lot, but I shudder to think of what would happen with 90 homes that close and the planning that's going into that. It's a little scary. I saw what happened on Wharf's Landing over in Camden off of Route 17. We had to shut down. We had to stop selling homes there, and it took them 1.5 years to re-engineer and do everything because they were flooding the neighborhoods around and that area in itself. So it's kind of scary when you say, we got 2 ponds, it's not any problem, because we do have big ditches and they fill up. And my 2 neighbors across the street, they are pretty much flooded. They've had to almost bulkhead and bring in sand and dirt and everything else. So I'd just like for you to think about not just today, but the message that we're sending down in the future when people come into Moyock. A lot of us came there and we're there from Virginia. And a lot of us came from crowded neighborhoods, from crime areas, and that kind of thing. And we're trying to get away from it and establish nice neighborhoods that we could feel safe and send our children to school. And I'd like to think that we're going to build that type of community, not condense it down and have lots in there. It's an impossibility. And 3,000 square foot home on that size lot, the footprint just can't happen. It was in the newspaper in the Daily Advance that the average home, now I don't know if we can believe that, I don't know what we can believe, but the average home was to be 1,800 square feet. And the top sale price was going to go from $220 to $280, and that's quite a bit different than what we have paid in at Shingle Landing. So I just like to present all of that, and my 3 minutes are probably up. I forgot something, but hopefully someone else that comes behind me, and I thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Rago. Next we have Bob Crocker.
I'm Bob Crocker. I live at 134 Applewood Drive in the Shingle Landing section of Moyock. You know, I ran some quick numbers here, and I guess, Mr. Wood, it's what, 26 acres they're developing on?
It's 58 acres.
What's the total land that they're going to be building houses on?
The total upland area is 42 acres.
Okay. We were told 26 acres.
I'm just looking at the plan and the engineered
Okay.
number on it. So
That 26 acres is excluding of the open space that's being dedicated.
Okay. Well, if you take the square footage of the roof area, the driveways, the roadways, I didn't include the sidewalks. Okay, we're taking up over 320,000 square feet of land. Okay, versus the original, what this land was proposed for was 36 homes, we were told way back when, which was probably under 100,000 square feet of land. So now we've taken up all this land where the water can soak in, and we're pushing it over into Shingle Creek, over into the wetlands. I would be surprised going to the permits for the Army Corps Engineers, because I'm pretty sure North Carolina you have to too. Before you disturb any wetlands or anything, you have to get Army Corps Engineer permits. I know in Virginia I do. So now we're going to be putting all that water into that area. And I don't know if you've ever walked over there, but wear your hip boots, because it's deep, and even during the dry parts, it's wet. It's soppy wet. And I feel bad for the people in Shingle Landing Farms, because my wife and I, when we originally looked at our home, it was during that 4-day nor'easter in November of 2009. And we drove over there, and that water was backed up all the way up in there from that. Now, you're going to put all this concrete, asphalt, roof area, and that water, no place to go. So what's going to happen to those neighbors? What's going to happen to our neighborhood? All those people on Moyock Landing Road that back up to there. You know, they're already very wet back there, and they knew that. That's part of the wetlands. But now we're going to increase that and make it worse. Plus, he said they're going to drain directly into Shingle Landing Creek. So now we've got all the fertilizer and the runoffs and all that going directly into Shingle Landing Creek instead of perking down at the ground. So then you got the environmental aspect of it. So we go from, I just rough figures, 320,000 square feet. You know, we originally under 100,000 square feet for 36 homes like you would in Shingle Landing Farms. Now you're increasing it to over 320,000 square feet in that area. And I was a little disappointed at the planning board. You know, we asked, well, what size the pond's going to be? Oh, we don't know. Well, how can you prove something we don't know? He pulled out 3 different sets of drawings at the planning board, because they kept saying, well, weren't you going to do this? Oh, yeah, I got a set of drawings for that. 3 different times. I wish they would have asked for an indoor Olympic pool, because he probably would have had a set of drawings for that. So I was just disappointed at the planning board, because they kept having to ask for the updated drawings, stuff he was supposed to do. And even here, from what I hear, nothing's complete for this. I presented drawings before in my line of work, and everything, when I went to you guys, everything had to be 100%. There was no questions ever asked. If not, I had to wait to the next meeting and present. So, and the other thing is, I said, would they have, Mr. Woody, they gave, what, a couple acres for recreation?
It was the required dedication amount was 2.3.
Wow. Because in our neighborhood, they had to give up 22 or 25 acres for recreation. Kind of seems disproportionate. So, that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Woody, on that parcel, if there was under the conventional subdivision, if it was done there, 40,000, I assume 40,000 square feet, conventional subdivision, how many units could be built there versus what's being proposed? That's a question I'd like to hear an answer to.
This is just, the applicant may be able to give a better answer because they've probably done that, but I would think, and we've kind of played around with it some, probably 38 to 40.
38 to 40 versus 92.
90, yeah.
The original plan was for 38 to 40, right?
I'm not sure. I think the original plan was 30-something, but I don't remember offhand.
Oh, I don't remember that.
The
All right.
original plan, if I can answer that question.
Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
My name's Eddie Hyman with Hyman and Roby also, and I'd like to speak at the end of all of this, but I'll be glad to answer the questions along the way. The original subdivision we came forward with was a conservation subdivision. No, it wasn't a conservation. It was under the old ordinance, you had a threshold of open space requirements. We stopped it at 39 lots, and we reduced those lots to probably 30,000 square feet, and applied the extra 10,000 that needed to be 40 to the open space. We could have gone up to probably 50 lots, applying in a conservation dilemma, or if we went to the 40th lot under the old ordinance, we were in a conservation open space requirement completely. We'd have had to provide 45% open space, but we could have been in a similar scenario as we are now, but we would have had to provide in-ground septic. The difference in these lots is we are using the centralized sewer system, and that gets us to, we don't have to dedicate as much of the yard area for in-ground septic, and we can use it more for lots and open space. But originally, we probably could have gotten 45 to 50 lots out of this tract under the old ordinance. But we stopped at, the plans that got approved actually stopped at 39, because when you cross from 39 to 40 lots, under that ordinance, you were into sidewalks, street lights. The open space jumped from 30% to 45%, so we planned it out to stop at 39 lots. But it could have gone more than that under the old ordinance also.
So in essence, what you're saying is, I mean, irregardless of all the little tweaks and this and that and other, you could have put 45 units there.
Very close,
and now you're
yes, sir.
proposing 92.
That's right.
Thank you.
And the biggest change was the availability of the sewer.
Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Next, I have Mary Waller.
Good evening. Mary Waller, 118 Creekside Drive, Moyock, North Carolina. I live in Shingle Landing. And just to answer a question that was asked earlier, if nobody minds, my lot is .57, and I paid $290,000 for my home in Shingle Landing, if this will help you. And that is the average size of the lot around me. However, there are acre lots in there, here and there, and bigger than mine. But right where I live, in the back, that's the average. And I only have one concern. And I don't think the septic tank has got anything to do with it, as far as the size of the lot is concerned, whether it's got a septic tank or not. And I think that's one reason we do have larger lots, because you can only use, half of it, basically. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't really matter whether they can use their whole lot or half a lot. The runoff water from 92 homes is going to be more than we have at 75 homes that are built there right now, approximately. I am not against this at all. I am for it. I think everybody should be allowed and should have the chance to buy a home, a new home. Not everybody can afford expensive homes. I know we all bought into Shingle Landing at the height of things, so we may have overdone it. But, you know, that's the way it is. That's where we are now. But there are young couples starting off. None of us started off paying $300,000 and $400,000 for our home because we couldn't. We had young kids and everything. I like the idea of construction. I like the idea of in between the housing prices they're saying, because the reason I gave my price out was because that gives you an example of basically the prices that you can live with and the size lots you can live with. But the biggest thing is the water. I'm across the street from the boat dock, and when it rains, those people, they're right along the creek there, the water comes right up into their yard. People have pools, it fills up with water. You know, not pool water. And that's my main concern about everything. But I think if some compromise can be came, the less homes are put in there. I'm not worried about the lot size so much. I'm worried about the runoff of the water. And I think we need more homes because I think we need to be, what's the word I'm groping for here? I do chemo, scramble my brain. More than usual. You know, it just needs to be diverse. You know, not everybody can afford Shingle Landing or River's Edge. And that's just the way it is. And I think there has to be give and take on everybody's side. And thank you for listening to me. But I'm definitely for the development.
All right. Ms. Waller, thank you. Next we have Don Williams.
My name's Don Williams. I live at 307 North Currituck. I'm currently one of the developers of Shingle Landing. We've been working on it since 2007. We're currently trying to bring on another 15 lots, and we've had to do a lot of road repair, sidewalk repair, ditch repair. We've been asked to do a lot of things by the county. We've spent a lot of money to get this thing up to speed. We're there. We have a sign off by the state. We believe we've met all the criteria moving forward. I've got a couple of concerns. One thing I will say, we do have fire hydrants all the way down the road. So that's a plus. So come move into Shingle Landing. But the main thing is, you know, everybody keeps talking about the size of the lots. And I don't know, a 3,000 square foot house for $270,000 on a 10,000 square foot lot sounds like a tract home to me. And I know a little bit about building. So, you know, if you want to do that, I'm fine. But I don't want you to connect into Shingle Landing, Moyock Landing Drive, because, you know, we've established a neighborhood, and we're trying to maintain the values in there. And one thing that was brought to my attention when we were trying to bring 24 lots online was the price of the house. And what are you going to build? You're going to build on a slab? You're going to track build? What are you going to do? Well, you know, we made a conscious decision to build quality home in there and maintain prices 300 and above, knock on wood, depending on the economy. Right now, the economy's taking a turn for the better. So I feel real comfortable about where we're going. But, you know, now we're going to bring on 90 lots to the south of us. We're going to interconnect to Moyock Landing Drive. Now, everybody said, oh, we're going to bring a sewer system in here, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Okay, nobody's told me where the sewer line is going to come into that establishment. So are they going to come down Moyock Landing Drive and tear up what we've done? How are you going to get there with your sewer system? And I did think the sewer system was for commercial development, not residential. So I've got some major concerns about how you're going to develop the property after I spent a lot of money fixing the roads, the ditches, and trying to get everything, you know, up to par. So somebody needs to tell me how are you getting the water, sewer, trucks, whatever, over there without tearing up what we've already done. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Woody, if I may reference to his comment, where would, I mean, based on where our sewer system is now, where would they come across to?
They're proposing to connect the sewer to Moyock Landing Drive.
Thanks for telling me.
After we already complained about getting that road fixed. Now we're going to tear it up again.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have signed up Eldon Miller. And Dorothy White.
Yeah, that would be me.
All right.
Hi, my name is Dorothy White. I live on 131 Applewood Drive in Moyock.
My name's Eldon Miller III. I live at 151 Shingle Landing Road on the corner of Fox Lane and Shingle Landing Road.
We are members of the Small Area Plan Stakeholder Committee, and as you're well aware.
But we're not speaking on behalf of the
Right.
Small Area Plan Committee. We're members. We just want you to know.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. And we've been working on our vision for Moyock for the past year. It has been a long and extensive process, but we are in the final stages of our plan, which is slated to be presented to you in March, I believe. This being said, we are aware that anything put forth to the board prior to our vision statement being implemented will not be considered with the committee's and overall Moyock community view. We also understand that development in Moyock is inevitable. However, we would like to point out some of the views the committee feels strongly about, or we do. We like to see the development in Moyock to be low density. The G's group is not at all in line with that vision. In fact, it is an extremely high density development considering the surrounding existing developments like Creekside Estates, Shingle Landing Farms, and Shingle Landing Phase 1 and 2, both in terms of quality and quantity of homes. We would like to see that this development adheres to the same low-density development as their surrounding ones. The UDO requires the new developments to be in harmony with their surrounding area. In my opinion, this development does not fit those criteria. We do not want another Eagle Creek development with all the problems it brought to the area. It also was a Virginia builder who came in, made his money, and left, leaving us to fix the problems which ensued. I can attest to the poor workmanship and overall poor quality of the homes in Eagle Creek, as I lived in the rental for 8 months while my house was being built by a North Carolina builder. We also like to see adequate buffering between developments. Several plans were submitted to the planning board at their last meeting. After the first one was submitted and one of the planning board members made suggestions for more buffering, a second plan was presented. When another suggestion was made, yet another plan was submitted. I'm wondering if there was yet another one that they had in their back pocket waiting to see if it was needed. The number of homes kept changing as well. At the last Board of Commissioners meeting, a total of 92 homes were presented to you. Several of you showed concerns regarding the large number of proposed homes. When they presented the new plans in December to the Planning Commission, the number of homes went up to 96 homes. I was astonished, to say the least. But with the last submission to the Planning Board, we were back down to 92 homes, and now I understand it's 90 homes. Of course, it sounds like they gave up some of their homes to appease us. To me, it was just a game they played. Again, I'm not against development, but like to see fewer homes on this parcel of land. Secondly, several discussions took place at our SAP meetings about the county sewage system. I was under the impression that the sewage system was originally designated to be used for commercial use only. It was built to attract businesses to the Moyock area. As I understand that the developers in the full-service area, I was not aware that developers were able to hook up to the sewage system for a residential complex. No one is here to oppose the development. We're simply asking the commissioners to take the items brought to their attention tonight to be taken into consideration when making a decision on this project. This development can be still profitable for the G's Group with less houses they need to build. They also had a proposal years ago for 39 houses, which we've already established tonight. I believe that when the G's Group came in to request changes, it should have started the process over, and other items such as the small area plan, upcoming vision should be taken into consideration. We want to thank you for the opportunity to voice our opinions tonight. Thank you.
All right. Ms. White, thank you. Mr. Miller, anything else?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, appreciate you taking the opportunity to listen to us tonight. I've changed my speech 50 times since I've been up here listening. So I'm going to start off with the same comment I made to the planning board, and that this high-density subdivision in our community breaks my heart. I'm going to start out with a story. And the story starts out that back when the G's Group were making a deal to buy this property, the gentleman that brokered the deal came to me with the 39-lot subdivision with a nice 200-foot buffer between the street going through, no lots on that side between the street and the backs of the lots on Fox Lane. And I thought it was a great plan, a great subdivision. And I kind of feel a little duped because when later on, when the public meeting came up to have it rezoned from agricultural to residential, I had some of my neighbors ask me, is this something we need to go to? No, I've seen the plan, and it's a great plan, and I think you'll be happy with it. And we didn't even bother to go. So time passes by. We get the new sewer system in Moyock. It was sold to all of us as a central sewage system to be used for commercial connections, and to entice commercial businesses to come into our community. And so time went by, and I was glad to see the sewer system because, I've got a couple of pieces of property that would benefit from it, and that are commercial property. And but never heard anything from anybody at the county as far as hooking up. So we had our small area committee, part of us had a meeting at Southland one day about a month ago, and it was brought up that there weren't many people connected to the county sewer system, and we were they were concerned about that. I said, well, nobody's approached me about it. But anyway, I've gotten, in the meantime, I've gotten out and talked to some of the local community, local business community people that own commercial property. And the tap fees are out of sight. I talked to one guy that he was going to wind up, by the time he paid to have the sewer system disconnected from a working septic system and connect it to the county sewer system, he was going to have $75,000, $80,000 invested in this thing. So what's the incentive for him to change that? And the answer is none. So anyway, getting past that, I see this come up where they're able to connect to the new sewage system with residences that I didn't think were supposed to be able to do it. So now we're setting a precedent for hooking the sewer system up to all these residential homes. So
where do we go from here? Where does it stop? So my recommendation, my humble recommendation, is that I think we need to kind of step back here a little bit and look at what we've done and look at what we've created here. And I don't mind them putting a subdivision over there. I'd love to see them do it. Activity's good for everybody around, but as far as it being in harmony with the surrounding communities, I don't agree that it is. And I did Shingle Landing Farm subdivision, and it's, my lots are the same size as everybody else's. So anyway, like I said, I think we kind of need to look at what we've done here, and where do we go from here? What's this going to create in the future with this now? Everybody hook up now.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the square footage of your lots in Shingle Landing Farms?
They're all
30,000.
They're all a minimum 1 acre.
They all are 1 acre.
Yes, sir. They're like 0.9, right at an acre.
All right. Ms. White, Mr. Miller, thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Bob Gregory.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Gregory. I live at 110 Fox Lane in Eldon's area. I'm one of the homeowners who this is in the backyard of. Excuse my hat, as the ladies would say, it's a bad hair day. I wanted to talk about this plat. Can you possibly blow this up a little bit for me? Or do we have a print that I can look at? And the reason I say that is that every time that I see this, and I look at them every opportunity, they change. The first time I saw it was a year ago, and it was very different than this, and it just had all buffer between the main road coming down, and then Fox Lane is the road that runs parallel here. I'm up in the middle of this. I'm right along the creek that runs through this bottom, and again, it's 1 acre. The next time after I received a mailing at home about this, I went to one of the planning meetings in Moyock, and what I saw was this same picture, but I now had a square in my backyard. It was unlabeled. I asked what that was, and I was told, oh, that's parking for the RVs and the boats. We don't want these people to have RVs and boats in their yards, so we're going to put them in your backyard. And I said, well, I'm not excited about that. It's not going to be, we don't have street lights, no, but you have to have lighting. I think you can park your RV and your boat there. So I understood the need for it, didn't agree with where it was. Then I saw another one of these, and this was a few months ago, and that square had turned into a big rectangle. And I understand they needed more space. So is that still in this planning here for the boats and the RVs?
With the last submission,
right,
it was actually moved to its current location where you see it on the new plan.
And where is that at?
All the way down here.
So that's for both sides now?
Yes.
Okay. So we've taken care of that, but yeah, it's moved over on the main road. I'm not against the gentleman, the ladies who are developing their area. When I bought my house, I knew that was going to happen. That there would be someone in the back there. I'm all for people, the county growing. I think that you've had a lot of good points brought up here tonight to take into consideration when you do your vote. I understand the timing of when this was bought was on the bubble. I get the real story. They bought it up here, housing crashed, 39 houses. They might have got it back then. They got to have. I understand the math. I get it. But there's got to be, I think, a compromise to make everyone happy. I would agree the size of these lots for the houses that are quoted on it, it would be, it would look like a bunch of hippopotamus sitting on a thumbtack. But that's all I have to say. I thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next, we have Susan Davis.
Good evening, Susan Davis, 102 Creekside Drive. Basically what I wanted to ask you is that you deny Moyock Crossing subdivision from hooking up to the Moyock wastewater plant. This development can go on, but with larger lots having septic fields. We need businesses brought in to the hookup. By doing so, Currituck will benefit from the tax dollars being spent here and not in Virginia every day. The people of Currituck would also benefit from more jobs being offered. As noted, the citizens in the Moyock Small Area Planning have expressed for rural developments. With any future developments, I ask that it be in harmony with the rest of the surrounding rural low-density developments. Now, one thing I have to ask, though, if this development does go in, even if it's 39 homes, we'll say, okay, if it goes down to that, that cut-through road, I'm assuming, still will come through. Are they going to bring, if they do septic, let's just say they decide to do septic fields, what's going to happen with that road? Is it going to automatically come through to us from Shingle Landing Road on over immediately, or are they going to wait till they finish the development?
You mean in terms of the timing of the connection?
Right. The reason I'm asking that, because if they come in with it through that road, dig it out, and bring it all the way over to us, what kind of traffic is that going to bring? Are they going to start building at the other end there at Shingle Landing Road itself?
I think she's talking about construction.
They propose phase one to be at Shingle Landing Road, and certainly the Board of Commissioners could specify that a construction entrance or construction equipment not come through your neighborhood.
Okay, whether it be 30, I'm against the 90 homes, totally against it.
No matter what it be, the construction entrance can be controlled, and the timing of the connection also.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Davis. That's all I have that's signed up. If there's someone who wanted to speak and didn't sign up, if you would come forward now, I would let you speak.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the applicant did want to have time to rebut the comments, and that would be their right.
Right. You've already spoken? Yes. Come forward, please. Ask your question.
Bob Crocker, again, 134 Applewood Drive. For them to put the sewer line, being a homeowner and owning the road, Moyock Landing with these other people, would they not have to get our permission to, I know there is a right-of-way, but to cut through Mr. Williams' property and that, and to go up Moyock Landing Road, would they have to get our permission before they do that, or could they just cut through willy-nilly and up the road and tear everything up?
What's the process? I mean, far as I know, they were trying to get everything ducks in a row for the state to own that road. What's the? I mean, I know it's still owned by the developer / the homeowners association or homeowners.
Right.
Any idea about that?
That's a
good question.
The road owned by a homeowners association would necessitate an easement from homeowners association for anyone to come through there with the utility line.
Okay, so if we said, as a homeowners association said, no, we're not going to give you the easement.
There would not then be the ability to come through there unless the county were to.
Should we take a vote, everybody?
Exercise.
Anybody want to give them easement?
No, it's not
power.
appropriate time for that.
Yeah. All right, sir. Anything else? All right.
Appreciate
Thank you. All right. Now, this time.
Thank you. I believe there were utility easements set up on these right-of-ways as well as in the roads in Shingle Landing, but I think that has been negotiated privately with some other people, but that will come forward. I wanted to try to differentiate between the perception of the truth and the truth on a few things. First, the changing of the plans was an evolution process. Nothing to be joked or sneered at, but as we come forward with a community meeting, in which we've been through all those processes, we present a plan. We get input. Those community meetings are valuable. We modify the plan, and we have another rendition as we add and manipulate the overall process as we go. So, yes, there has been quite a few different renditions of the layout that you see. The last one the one that you're looking at now, came from the planning board comments, and to try to get the conformity in the neighborhoods, and we've done so. There's only 6 lots in here that actually join other lots. We've buffered them, and we've made those lots larger so they would be conforming to the lots they join. 2 two sides of this development, as far as conforming in the neighborhood, are screened by good buffers. One is a Shingle Landing Creek swamp area. The other are two wetland fingers and an open space provided on another subdivision from Shingle Landing subdivision. The other two areas will be buffered by manual means. We're going to put up berms and plantings to create buffers to try to isolate this pocket from the neighborhoods as we are trying to be good neighbors, as well as the two sections of the lots are going to be 40-plus lots in two different little clusters, and that's what has been the grasp of the whole planning development for the last 5 or 7 years. They want to do conservation area. They want to end the sprawl of just lot. They want to provide clusters of homes and then open spaces in between them, and that's what we've tried to do. Another fact, the sewer is available for residential use, and my client has paid his part of the tap fees to secure the 90 taps. That was opened up to him, didn't know it was an issue, didn't know anything else. It was, yes, sewer's available to you. If you want it, pay the fee, and that's what he's done. And it is quite a exorbitant fee also, but it's, what he's done. $300,000. The fact here, density on this parcel is 1.5 units per acre, which would be by definition low density. It's not a high density development, it's low density. And that's by definition, and that's a fact. Another fact, the drainage will meet the new requirements that we're under for the new UDO. We do have ponds that will mitigate the water as it flows out, and that will be designed and scrutinized as the development comes forward. This area, the land use plan for this area was worked on several years to get it in place. And then from there, the zonings for these areas were used, and the uses and the densities were laid out. And then the ordinance that we work from is written to protect both the owners of the property and the residents surrounding the property. It's our rule book that we go by. Through every step of this process, we have met what you see before you meets every rule in the book. It meets every criteria for this type of single-family mainland zoning with the 2 unit per acre density allowance. It meets every one of those requirements. I actually took part in helping write the ordinance. A lot of the other people did here too, and this meets every letter in this ordinance to the T. And like I say, it meets the land use plan, it meets the residential growth idea for the Moyock area in the full service districts. Like I said, we have worked hard to get to the plan that you see before you. We've made some compromises, made some changes, and that's why we would like to hear or get your approval on it so it can go forward to the full planning process and be designed and meet and answer every question that's been asked tonight as far as drainage, sewage, everything else. But that's what I had to say, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Yes, sir. A couple of questions. Did you have a public hearing for this plan here for 90 lots?
The public hearing plan we had, I believe the community meeting we had, and we did have a community meeting. You asked about that. We mailed out mailings to, and there's a report in your packet and a letter. We mailed out 29 notices. 16 residents showed up at the Moyock Library. The plan that we had at that meeting didn't have lots that joined the Fox Lane lots. It had the road over and it had 2 loop roads. It came out later in the design tweaking that it didn't meet the road intersection distance. There was an obscure requirement that the intersection spacings had to be 400 feet. And that was the text amendment we were asking for. That was the original layout that they saw in our community meeting. once the text amendment didn't go through, we've redrawn it to see for what you see here. We could have gotten, like I said, 96 lots, but we took some lots out. We modified it based on comments and input on everybody to the 90 lots that you see before you. It was a very similar layout to what you had, but and I wish we could fully design and fully lay out a untouchable product that we could have a meeting over. But the meetings are there so we can change and manipulate or take input from the area and see what we need to change. So,
But there was a public hearing that showed more than 39 lots.
oh yes, a community meeting was held. It's in your packet, the letter.
Okay. That's fine. I got a couple
June
more questions.
19th of this year, or last year, we met at 6:30 at the Moyock Library.
Okay. Tap fees. How much tap fees? How many? What was the amount of tap fees they paid?
Do you remember?
I'm showing it $6,000 a pop at 90. You know, without taking my shoes and socks off, that's $540,000.
I believe they paid half. I believe that the half was a retainer. 300,000.
Okay, well, you can get back with us on that. That's, you know, I'm doing some math here. The other thing, are these going to be built on a slab?
I believe they are going to be slab built. And I'll look, is that correct? That's correct.
Okay, now, I'm not an engineer, so help me out here. Will a home built on a slab affect stormwater more than a home with crawl space?
No.
There's no difference.
The roof runs it off. It doesn't, anything underneath the house, it has no effect.
I know, but I'm just talking about, I know you don't want water underneath your house, but I'm just saying I would think a slab is like a driveway which takes up.
But yeah, but it's covered by the roof, so if it's a 3-story house or a 1-story house, the runoff's going to be the same.
I know, but I'm not talking about a storage house. I'm talking about being on a slab or a crawl space. Is there a difference in how stormwater is handled?
No.
Okay. The other thing is this, you just made a comment. Now, Mr. Williams says they have the roads, but you said you've made a deal.
Well, Mr. Williams has a partner, and I think that can be worked out.
I don't want to get him on the spot, but I mean, you know, it sounds like, you know, you got to deal with him, but he doesn't know anything about it.
Well, let me.
That's like 3 shells and a pea here.
What I know is that the sewer is at the assisted living. It is already on the road to the assisted living. The plans that have been discussed with parties were to they're going to make the interconnectivity with the water line up to Moyock Landing Drive, interconnectivity with the road, and then run the sewer line. It's a little forced sewer line that will run down the shoulder of the road to the lift station at the assisted living.
So it sounds like you made a deal with Mr. Old?
He's been in the negotiations.
So he's part of your deal?
Right. He has been involved within the negotiations of what we're doing here.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
But if that route somehow diminishes, there are other ways to run it to the plant. But I think that was the easiest and quickest, and that one has been discussed.
Mr. McCord?
I have a couple questions. First off, one, the price of the homes we were stated earlier, and I've been sitting here taking lots of notes, was $275,000 to $325,000, and that's for a house on a slab. Where
2,500
to 3,000 square foot, which a typical, I'm not a builder or an engineer, but the typical homes in Moyock for a home on an acre lot, custom built, and I'm not saying that it's not custom, but on a foundation, you know, I mean, are they going to market a supply and demand? How are they going to market selling a home on a 15,000 square foot lot for $300,000 on a slab compared to a house on a foundation on a half an acre to an acre? I mean, Miss Mary on the front said she paid $290 for her home, roughly 2 years ago. I mean, how are they going to? I mean, if that didn't work, you throw up Quality Homes, a Mainstay Construction, a Scott McNamara builder, you know, just different builders in the county that build, you know, good homes.
Sure.
that, you know, and those guys, you know, they sell a lot of homes. But I mean, how is this group going to, you know, far as the lot size is where I'm going at with the lot size. I mean, if they build 3 model homes, so forth or so on, and, you know, they're not selling them, I mean, or is it going to be, well, all right, well, let's build a 1,600 square foot home, and we'll, you know, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
I know there will be restrictive covenants. They have to come forth at the final plat that will have lot size or house size restrictions in there. I know that this is the information that they've given me. I've seen the schematics and the prospective views of the homes. They're nice looking homes. And of course, the market has changed since we've even started this process. The housing prices are going back up. When they, and like I say, go way back, when this process started, when they had the 39 lots, that was when the lots were selling for $140,000 a piece, $130,000, and the house home packages were selling for close to $450,000 or $500,000. And that was when Shingle Landing also was in full swing, and those homes were doing that. Well, then the bottom fell out. And that's why the 39 lots was not a doable marketing for this thing, for this property. So they've held tight for a while and waited till the sewer was available. But they feel like they can sell them. They feel like they can. They have marketing potential. The people that are telling them that yes, there's a market for this size and this dollar value of home in this property here.
You know, I mean, like currently in Moyock, I mean, we probably have, and I know this by, you know, the sheriff's department on the civil, and we probably have 40 to 100 homes, you know, either in the foreclosure, I mean, as far as like I'm just going to the supply and demand compared to so forth and so on. I don't know, I was just going there. But I mean, my main thing, like you said, is the price. I'd heard, you know, the 189 or 199, and then tonight when he stated that the 275, 325, you know, it just kind of floored me. I didn't know that was the price point that they were going at.
Well, like I say, that's updated from what we have in our physical analysis and our financial housing analysis in the project here.
Mr. Hyman, I'm looking at, excuse me, I'm looking at page, and this is in our PDF, on page 59, it's the environmental impact. It talks about the physical analysis, and the post-construction home lots and values at today's cost will be from 180 to 280.
That's Mr. Gianscola gave me this information when the question was asked tonight. He gave me the new information.
Okay, so this isn't the most up-to-date information that we have.
Right.
Okay. The other thing that I'm a little questionable about is the environmental impact with the water. We've got 360 at 4-bedroom home, or excuse me, the gallons per day. The water lines that we have connected to this area, is the size of the water lines, you know, the meeting started out tonight with the safety issues with the hydrants, and do we have the capacity in the water lines to meet these conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
This property sits at actually one of the best locations. It's within a stone's throw of the fire hydrant, and there is a major water line in front of it that will also be interconnected back to the Moyock Landing area with a large line to better feed the growing area to the north of Moyock.
Mr. Petrie? One of the problems that Shingle Landings had to deal with the developer and everything is a homeowners association. Is your development going to have a homeowners association? Is it going to be required that they join?
It is mandated under the new UDO that at 50% of the lot sales, an account be established 15% of the cost, or 10% of the cost of the whole subdivision, an account be established in the homeowners association that the property is turned over to the homeowners association. So if say the project was $1 million, somebody has to put in $100,000 in a homeowners association account to handle the perpetual maintenance of the areas. Yes, that's a requirement of the UDO.
Mr. Hyman, I want to refer to one more letter that you've included in our package, talking about the feeder road or the acceleration lanes. Yeah, I mean, and the traffic flow that's going through Shingle Landing and also through Moyock Landing. You know, the traffic concerns me and the safety of the folks cutting through Moyock Landing across the railroad issues. I mean, we've got issues there now, and this is going to increase that flow. Can you address some of the issues that I mean, just like you've addressed the deceleration lanes and things like that. So some more of the safety issues. Mr. Rose commented as far as that curve, the sights, being able to see coming in and out of that. So these are things that are really concerning for me.
Well, certainly. First of all, DOT will be involved in the process. They have already been addressed about the decel lane because we're trying to get some cost analysis. And they said there would not be a decel lane or a right turn or a left turn in lane required for this amount of traffic. Where the road hits Tolls Creek Road or Shingle Landing Road, you're in a curve, and it gives you a good sight distance each way. Actually, the way it shapes up, you can stand there, and we went out there as a staff and walked up and down to see what the actual visibility was on the site to locate this intersection. From the other side, if you were coming from the other side from Mr. Rose's property, you're tucked back. You can't see each way, but where this road comes out, you got a straight shot down the center line this way and a straight shot down the center line this way for cars approaching. So that, you know, it's actually an optimum place to put a road, an intersection. Now, this interconnectivity, first of all, is urged and required of the ordinance. They want to make interconnectivity. What this will do, it'll decrease the emergency response time to Shingle Landing and to the assisted living in the event that there is a railroad closure or a train across the track. It gives another way out for the community. It gives a good access out for the Shingle Landing subdivision residents during the high peak traffic times of the season to get to a stoplight or to get to a school without having to get out on the Currituck Highway. I think most of the traffic on the road will be coming south. I think very little will be going north because northbound traffic, it'll be an easier roll to come into the entrance of Moyock Landing Drive, come into the main entrance of Shingle Landing for the residents there. But exiting south from Shingle Landing, sometimes it would be a benefit to have this interconnector to hit out to Tolls Creek Road and go either to a stoplight for a signal to get out on Currituck Highway or to traverse Tolls Creek Road into the community down there. I really think the interconnectivity will be a benefit, and that's one reason why staff has required it.
Mr. Petrie?
There's a public boat ramp in the back of Shingle Landing, right? So that means that the people in this development, if they want to use that public boat ramp, will drive over to Shingle Landing with their boat trailers, park, put more load, more strain on that public boat. I realize they can get to it, but I'm just saying if the roads are interconnected, you try to deter a little bit, but the people of Shingle Landing, I don't think, bought into that much traffic going into the public boat ramp. You've got 90-some homes, so if you take 30 people to have a boat.
I mean, you got people that come. You got people that come from Tolls Bay Colony to go, to put out in Shingle Landing Creek right there. So I mean, it's like I said, you could come from Grandy and go in it if you want.
I know, but what I'm saying is, it would make it.
It'd be more more stress.
Yes, sir, Mr. Griggs.
If I could, we've heard a myriad of concerns. We've heard, and we've talked about all sorts of different things, but I'm sitting here listening, and I think what it boils down to is the issue of connecting to wastewater allows this development to be something that is, I wouldn't say inconsistent, but it's different from the surrounding developments that did not have the advantage or the ability at the time to hook up to wastewater. And what I'm speaking to, what all this boils down to is a density issue from what I'm hearing.
Well,
And that density issue comes about through the ability to access wastewater, which has been brought up. Now, the wastewater was built before I got on this board, but I've heard over and over again that wastewater was initially developed and sold for commercial development in order to entice that or to be a draw. And now it looks like it is being seized by residential development as a way to increase density. Because the bottom line from what I'm hearing, the 90 houses wouldn't be even a viable offer if it wasn't wastewater. Is that correct? In the space that is being
density that's allowed in this single-family mainland, 2 units per acre, would not be accessible with without a private wastewater or a public wastewater option.
So to me, all this that we're talking about boils down basically to the wastewater allowing this to be a development that the surrounding developments could not have been, and would therefore maybe not be consistent with the other developments around. I mean, that's just what I'm hearing.
Well,
I'm trying to get down to the basis of what we're really talking
another
about.
subdivision that's gone in to the north of here that had the option to use the sewer, but they opted to go in-ground septic and stay with the conventional subdivision style. That was that developer's choice, but the sewer was available to him also. I believe, and like I said, I believe you have one sewer system behind the food line. They built a new plant up there right off against where Moyock Landing Drive comes in. And they're going to phase them out. And they also developed that new sewer system with the ability to add on trains or 100,000 gallon a day increases or upgrades as needed as the demand was so needed. I think they were looking for customers to hook up, and they opened it up to residential, and that's where we are. It was open, it was available, and my client decided that's where he wanted to go. He could.
I understand that, but it looks like everything pivots off of that singular ability to hook up the wastewater. And I guess for my edification, what I would ask, since I was not on the board when the wastewater plant was the conception, the design, the implementation, and build, I keep hearing that it was not, the initial design was not for residential, but was for commercial use. I guess I would ask for clarification. For my edification, if you would, what is this? Because I keep hearing that same thing over and over again.
I think Mr. Hyman summarized it rather well.
Well, what I heard was it was looking for customers. So was there then a change by the county going forward to transition from commercial to residential?
There wasn't a transition. When the system was initially built, the Board of Commissioners had restricted connections to commercial only. And there came a point in time when the Board of Commissioners lifted that restriction so that both commercial or residential could connect to that system. And you see that this project here is the first residential project, I believe, that has expressed an interest in connecting, although there is another project in Moyock that has been before you that has also exercised the option to connect.
Some of the reasons, some of the history as to why that took place in the Moyock area. You had poor soils, you had runoff, you had people complaining about when you had flooding, you had septic systems or the drain fields were having water covering them, and you were having sewer that was dispersing, and I think it was a conscious effort to try to help that situation some. Certainly not to get us to the point where we're at here, but I think that was, the best of my recollection, was part of the reasoning that we used to look at that.
And I understand, but every action, almost every action that we do has the potential for unintended consequences. And this
I certainly was not the only one on the board at the time. I mean, we have other members that are sitting here that can speak and give their opinion, but I believe that was the gist of what that was discussed and the reason that that transition went that way. So I'm sorry.
And again, well, I'm just trying to get, because I keep hearing the same thing, and I'm just trying to get a grasp of, is it commercial or isn't it commercial, or are we going to use the remaining capacity that we have? Are we going to go to high density, which there is some talk in the board about addressing that? I'm just trying to get the sense of the board, I guess.
Originally, you're 100% correct. The initial purpose of the Moyock sewer system was to help attract economic development into Currituck County. That was the golden reason for doing that. We had so many people who had looked at things. Well, we don't have the utilities and the resources to be able to move a business here. So that was, you hit it right on the head. That was the number one reason, economic development, providing utilities that would help draw some business to come to our county, some jobs. That was the main. Mr. Scanlon, I think I'm correct there.
You are correct, and it still remains the driving
number one
reason behind that system.
Yes, it is.
My thing is, I'm sorry, my thing is, like, far as how many meetings have we sat in here? I've been on the board for a year with Commissioner Griggs as well, and in Moyock, and I know I own a landscaping business. I cut a lot of grass, do a lot of work in Moyock, and there's some drainage issues, and we hear drainage, be it shingle landing, be it Quail Run, be it the pictures that Mr. Ely brought, the DOT brought people out here, and I don't see how 90 lots is not going to cause, and the pond size, and I'm not against you or against your I'm not against business or, development or anything, but when we have the drainage, and then we're going to slap something else on there, and I asked the pond size, and, like I said, no offense to you guys, an acre pond or whatever. I mean, we didn't have a, definitive answer of this is going to do that, this will help that, and I know you're good at your job, but like I said, there's so many things, the price. I mean, I was 180, 185, 189. Now when it was 275 to 3 1/4, I had a moment. I just looked up. I was like, what did he say? So I just, like I said, I'm confused on some of it, and the drainage thing is my biggest thing, because I don't want my phone blowing up because, something we've done, far as that's all we ever hear, drainage.
The pond, we're in preliminary design. The pond area is designated. The actual calculation of the size won't be determined until the final number of lots get laid out, the final amount of impervious areas, sidewalks, and things like that. And that has changed dramatically from the start. So we don't get into the drainage calculations every time we add a lot or take a lot out. We just say, here's where the pond is going to be, and it will be sized to meet the 10-year or the 2-year, the 10-2 pre-post that we have to do under the new UDO. And as far as us discharging into Shingle Landing Creek directly, that's where it will go after it leaves the pond. It will have a settling area in the pond to treat the water for any contaminants. I know that was mentioned also, but it will be slowed down in the ponds before it does discharge out to Shingle Landing Creek. But again, we're at approval to do all of our designs right now. We're trying to get the permission to spend all the design money to size the ponds, to do all the final calculations. But we do have the UDO, the rule book that I mentioned, that will guide us through that protects the environment. And like I said, and the new stormwater manual is very strict. And,
yeah,
we will have to meet that.
You let it rain in Moyock, and I classify Moyock from the fire districts. You let it, and from about the 1200 block Old Tolls Creek Road and Tolls Creek Road where they flood. The 700 block on Tolls Creek Road, that curve right there, floods. Guinea Road, I've pushed many cars and washed some boots, flood. Shingle Landing Creek is probably one of the worst spots as far as flooding when we get a good rain, which in return goes into Shingle Landing and goes into, Puddin Ridge. I just don't see it. And like I said, I'm not against your client or I'm not against growth or any of that. I just don't see how, and I know I don't care how big the ponds are, as far as it's going to cause more of a drainage issue.
Well, what you don't comprehend is under the new ordinance, right now, if it rains, the water on that farm runs off into the creek, and it impacts and causes flooding that we experience because we are low flatlanders, and the ditches are going to be full of water because that's what they're designed to do. 2 or 3 days later, it mitigates back out. It's like fans leaving a football stadium. First 2 hours after the game is over, the roads are full. You can't get out. You've got traffic, and then finally it slows back down to the normal traffic. The new stormwater ordinance is going to start helping what you're talking about with new development because it is taking the snapshot of a rainfall event from being open fair farmland where it shotguns into the water to the wooded state before it was cleared. So it is going to help in the long term as these developments move forward and the water is slowed down again to mitigate back out versus a shotgun. And that's the theory behind the new stormwater ordinance.
I understand you on that, on the stormwater, but I just don't, if you get a 4 or 5 inch of rain in Moyock, Shingle Landing Creek, that's flooded, as far as those few homes right there behind Jerry Old's business at that light across from the Domino's and Duck Inn, that area is just, I just don't see where it could go.
We're not going to be able to design something that's going to help a 5 or 6 inch intensity rainfall. We're flatlanders. It's going to stand for a while. You're going to have to deal with it, and then it's going away. I don't know if you never build another house, it's going to do that.
All right, if you would. Yes, Mr. Petrie.
I'm sitting here thinking about what Mr. Miller said and what Commissioner Griggs said. And I've, like Commissioner Eilert and Marion, we're trying to balance. When we built the wastewater plant, it was for commercial, but then we have a debt. So we try to balance this so we can pay for it, sitting out there swinging. But Mr. Miller brings up a great point, is where do we go from here? If we approve this, now the barn door's open and we got issues. And night after night after night, we're going to be packing this place, and rightly so. So no offense, I think you got a great idea. But I'm not concerned about this. I'm concerned about if we approve this or deny this, whatever, I'm going to tell you there's a big fan that's going to hit it. And I don't want to face it. I'm concerned about what Mr. Miller said about me personally. I'd like to see it continued till we get our arms around it. We know where we're going.
Well, we have come down a long road to get to where we are, and we have jumped through every hoop and met every criteria.
I realize that, but we've got to make a decision that we have to answer to people that, because once you start it, then you can't. This is not 2 out of 3, and that's my concern.
Well, we've gone by the book. What is there to protect everybody? If you don't like what the book says, we need to change the book. But at this point,
Mr. Martin.
Let's move on. Mr. Eilert, what?
I'd like to get us back on track. I mean, we're sitting here, we've got to evaluate, no matter what we want to do in the future, we've got to evaluate this particular development based on 7 criteria. I'm here, I've heard what everyone's had to say. I think Mr. Griggs hit it on the spot. The issue is it compatible with the surrounding, the only one that I see, is it compatible with the surrounding community? I think, that's what I've heard. Mr. Woody, has the county and your staff findings, has it done a survey of all the properties out and around in the communities to see, is there the compatibility with what they want to do, is it compatible with the surrounding communities that abuts this particular development?
We
I
have
think that's the
not, we have
question.
not done a comprehensive survey, no.
If we haven't done that, what would it take to get us to move forward to do that? Then we can base our decisions on a fact.
I think really what we're looking at here as a board, we're at an impasse with this, looking at every thing that we've heard from the citizens and who live close to or right there in Shingle Landing and those who live in Moyock. The investments made by developers are quite large. You've heard of $300,000 already put down for sewage, et cetera. And I think probably we don't want to make a decision on this. If we can go back and discuss this a little bit more, I think the compatibility is very much an issue here. I don't think a PUD was intended to be put in Moyock. And you can see that from what we've heard from Mr. Miller, that's not something there. But it is there. It is, as Mr. Hyman has said, it is part of the UDO. That is the playbook, and that's what we have to go through. What I'd like to do is just extend this to, if we could, maybe the first meeting in February, so that we can look at this a little bit and try to make some decisions where that fairness issue is looked at for all of us, so we can come to some understandings. And if we could get the staff to look at perhaps some of these major issues that have been raised by the people there, by my fellow commissioners here, maybe we can sit down and talk that through. And we have issues with safety, and we've tried to talk about that, traffic and everything like that. But I think, as Mr. Griggs has said over and over, it becomes, the density and everything there of this subdivision. So I would just like it, if I could get a motion, just.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until the second meeting of February, giving them the staff ample time to take these notes into consideration.
I have a motion.
I'll second that.
Well, I would like to ask
Yes, sir.
also that we include in that the study that I've just said, the compatibility study of the surrounding areas. That's the issue.
I'd like further study on the drainage, and also to get some defined information on the obtaining the easements for the sewer through the Moyock Landing.
As far as, like you said, like a deal in a place, as far as the.
I wanted to readdress
All right,
that
sir.
too before I sit down, but go ahead and finish with the motion.
They've already got a motion and second.
That's right.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now-
Just to understand, Mr. Chairman, what you're doing is you're continuing this public
We are
hearing.
continuing this public hearing
You do-
until the second meeting in February.
So we haven't officially closed the public hearing.
We
We're
have
just
not
continuing.
closed the public hearing
Be receiving additional evidence, and also be opportunity for the applicant, of course, to present
to make
additional
changes if
evidence
he
and
needs,
rebut that.
if he would. Yes, Mr. Hyman?
All right, the meeting I would refer to with the adjoining owner of CTX took place in his office, and he, early on in our development ideas, he said he would help us any way he could.
All right.
He apparently didn't share that with Don, but he
Okay.
did talk like he will.
You think?
So, but that did take place, and I wanted to clear that up. Okay, thank you.
All right. And those in the audience, please understand, we've just continued this discussion.
Mr. Chairman, can we?
All right.
can we
Yes,
take a
Mr.
5-minute
Petrie.
5-minute recess.
We'll take a 5-minute recess, very quickly, 5 minutes. All right, if we can. Well, we will come out of recess and go to item E, public hearing and action on PB 13-23, Charles Perry, request for a use permit to operate the Automo sales in Grandy at 6331, 6333, and 6335 Currituck Highway, tax map 94, partial 135B, Poplar Branch Township. I see you're all ready. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. You are sworn. Thank you. Mr. Woody.
I'll be brief with this request, particularly since the use has been in operation for 5 years, and that probably says enough there. But this is a use permit for automobile sales, and the owner of the property came in and got permits for wholesale automobile sales many years ago, and it went through the proper process, got all the permits and everything, and subsequently has been selling cars for some time out there, and I think to no fault of his own, he's been very easy to work with and very forthcoming. So he's here tonight to get the proper permit to continue conducting that use there. Property is zoned general business in Grandy. Land use plan designates it as full service. There's a site plan you can see, and he had a community meeting on September 9th, and the only thing that really came up during that community meeting, and this is adjoining or nearby the fire station down there, is just to make sure that when the cars are parked, they're not parked in a way that create a site obstruction for cars coming in and out or accessing the highway. And Mr. Perry's aware of that and agreed to that. So other than that, TRC does recommend approval of this request. The planning board heard this request at their their November meeting, and they too recommended approval. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Have any questions? All right. Well, I will now open the public hearing, and I see Mr. Perry, if you have anything to say.
Yes, sir. First, I'd like to apologize for not being here last month for something that was so important to me. You get old, you forget things, you lose things, you can't hear and you can't see, so I'm in that boat.
I hope to never get there, but go ahead, sir.
Well, the only thing I can say about the golden years is they suck. Okay, and I've been selling cars there for 5 years, had no idea that I needed to get a use permit, so I'm here to try and get one.
Any questions for Mr. Perry?
I would like to say that as a resident of Grandy, Mr. Perry is a real community person. He's always helping out everybody. Just first-class guy, first class. Nice, clean operation, really, really nice.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? No one has signed up to speak, so I will close the public hearing and ask the board for a decision.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve PB 13-23 with staff findings and recommendations included in the case analysis.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All for it, say aye.
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 Opposed likewise? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I have a pension plan, so I still got to keep working.
I understand.
Well, I thought
Thanks,
you meant,
folks.
I thought you meant for the employees.
Sir?
I thought you meant for the employees. Your employees.
That's what I'm talking about. I can't hear you.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. All right. Moving to new business, we have item A, award contract for landscaping maintenance.
Mr. Chairman, it would be
Yes,
appropriate
sir.
to entertain a motion to
Before,
excuse Commissioner McCord.
Yes,
like
sir.
the motion, I'm going to excuse myself. I have a
Is
financial
there,
history.
I think is there any objection to Mr. McCord being reclused from this meeting?
I think for the record, it'd be appropriate if you have a motion and a second. Take
All
a vote.
right.
Make
Can
a
I have
motion,
a-
Mr. McCord recused himself from this.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Likewise.
Vote.
All right.
Sit in here. Oh, don't forget me.
Is that good enough he can go in there?
All right.
Okay.
Now we can go to new business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff had asked that we remove this from the consent agenda and put it on your regular agenda so that we could, that Commissioner McCord could go ahead and recuse himself because it is part of the recommendation of the staff that we do business with his company. This is for the landscaping contracts for the upcoming year. We have segregated the county into 8 different sections for our properties, and we've put that out for public bids for landscaping services for those 8 areas. In your agenda package is the resulting of that bid process, and we are making recommendations for a contractor for each one of those areas. Mr. McCord was a low bidder on 2 of the areas, so that's the reason why he's recused himself. And the information is in your agenda package. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for the manager?
What page is those bids on?
It is in your, well, I don't know what your page number is, but it's in your consent agenda item behind the contract for Mr. McLeese. On mine, it's page 102, but I don't know if that's...
I'm just curious. It don't matter.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
Was he low bid on those?
Yeah, we're recommending for low bids, and he was low bid on 2 of them. But again, the recommendation is for 8 separate contracts with, I'll go ahead and read one contract with McCord Landscaping, a contract with Rescom Property Services, a contract with Merrill's Lawn Services, Grandy Landscaping. In fact, Grandy Landscaping's gotten 3 of them, Merrill Landscaping 2, and McCord 2, to cover landscaping business for the year for 8 different areas of the county.
Motion to.
County
Yes,
businesses?
they
Grandy
are.
is.
Yes, they are.
Mr. Manager, what's the total of all of these contracts?
Oh, I do not have the total. I do not have that total added up. That's 40.
30, 40. Roughly 125, 130?
It looks
That look.
These were all the lowest bids.
These are low bids on the contract, but
Okay.
yeah, it looks like it's more than it's probably more than 100. It's probably more than 140, 150,000 range.
Thank you.
Are we looking for a motion to approve?
Now I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Oh,
Motion to bring Mr. McCord back.
Mr. McCord.
If he comes walking
Back
out.
in.
No, if he comes out, but anybody going to get it this time.
All right, moving to the consent agenda.
Motion for approval.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion approved. We now are at the Commissioner's report. Mr. McCord.
I'll try to make it under the 3 minutes for Butch. New Year's resolutions, 2014. I know everybody's got those. Holiday season, I hope everybody had a good one of those. Just to touch on something like tonight that the Wheelers came in here, and I'll keep it short and brief. When Mr. Wheeler passed away 6 months ago, the volunteer time that family has done in this county, and a lot of people that are in here haven't lived here that long and know, that guy, he bled for this county and his family, and there's so many people, all we hear is negative and negative and negative. There's so many people like their family. His son coached the high school football team. That guy gives numerous hours, that people never hear about. All they hear about is the negative stuff. But I just want to commend them, and I also want to commend the Sheriff's Department Law Enforcement Association, and this is my last comment. I was fortunate enough, we did the Shop with a Cop. There's a lot of kids, and Butch can attest, that don't get food properly right here in Currituck, that, people don't know about it. There was a lot of kids that wouldn't have got Christmas. I had the privilege, and I hope his parents aren't watching, I had probably one of the most active second graders you possibly could have had. I was exhausted. I thought I ran in the Boston Marathon, taking him to Walmart, a nice little kid. And they got to spend and buy toys and clothes and stuff like that. And I had a brother and sister. Mom works numerous hours to try to put food on the table. And it's just, that kind of stuff, like, the Sheriff's Department, the EMS, the other stuff that we never hear. And I think we spent about $8,000 on families, that kids that would, we were the only thing that they got for Christmas. And I just, like I said, I think people need to know that there is good, that they don't know about. So like I said, I had just as much fun as that, and I hope my wife doesn't watch this, as watching my kids open gifts.
All right. Mr. Griggs.
I have nothing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Idlet?
Yes, sir. I have something. In lieu of all the information that's running around about the ferry tolls again, and what I understand is going on, and I will say that our state representatives have shoved it down now to the RPO level. within, how many counties is on the RPO board? 13 counties, and what they have done is created a free-for-all amongst good neighbors and good people to try to figure out how to fund ferries. Now, they're taking it out of the road projects, which is not fair, I don't believe. Anyhow, I would request that you all get behind me and support me, and ask Mr. Scanlon to prepare a letter to Senator Cook and to Representative Steinberg to intercede on any attempt to tow the Knox Island Ferry. 85% of the use, 95%, excuse me, according to the ferry director down here, 95% of the use is for school kids travel. The ferry was put in position there back in the 60s. Governor Hunt, Secretary of Transportation, a lot of dignitaries were here over on Knox Island that day, and I still have newspaper clippings that will relate to all that I will be sharing. And it was put there, according to them, to give the school kids and the citizens of a remote island, especially the school kids, the opportunity to participate and go to school in the county that they reside in. That's a big thing. That's a big thing. Before that, some years before that, the kids at Knox Island went to school in Creeds and went to school in John Barnes, wonderful citizen of Knox Island, graduated from Creeds High School, or not Creeds, excuse me, Oceana High School up in Virginia Beach. Mm-hmm. Then at some point in time, bus service come along a little bit, and all the kids come from Knox Island and went around to Moyock, when Moyock was a grade 1 through 12 up to a high school. Enough said about that. But anyhow, we have students over there that participate in sports activities, after-school activities. Some, like any others, have touring classes and that type of stuff that catch the later ferries and that type of thing. To me, it's unfair to expect them to pay a toll. Whether the county pays it or whether the school system pays it is still a burden that we should not have to face up to, and they certainly should not. To me, it's no different than any bridge. I would like to ask, and I will ask when the time comes. Well, the used to be ferry service from Oregon Inlet to Hatteras. They took that ferry service and they put a bridge there, Bonner Bridge. I've never seen a toll on the Bonner Bridge. I wonder today, when the Bonner Bridge is replaced, is there going to be a toll put on that? It's no different. It's an avenue of transportation that's crossing a waterway, to me. And it's allowing people to travel from one spot on one side of the water to the other spot, whether it's a ferry, whether it's a bridge. When they come up and tell me they're going to toll every bridge in the state, well, then I'll be in favor of what they want to do. Well, I won't be in favor of it, but I'll understand what they want to do. So as far as the ferry tolling is concerned, I ask you all to stand behind me, get this letter sent out. I'll be working with the county manager to put some other things together. They have senior citizens at Knox Island, a load of them that come over here for senior services, pay their taxes and that type of stuff. Hearing tolls of up to $7 per trip. That's ungodly. I mean, it's unimaginable to me. If we have seniors over there that are starting to use the YMCA a little bit, we've got a senior representative who has now started getting a few of the seniors to participate in it. Now we're going to charge them $7 to come over here and use the YMCA in the county. It's ridiculous. So anyhow, I just ask you all to support me on this, and I appreciate it very much. Citizens of Knox Island appreciate it too. And the citizens of Currituck. I'll make a motion that we do that.
Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Manager.
Yes,
You
sir.
have a letter. Yes, sir. All right. To Mr. Petrie, anything?
I wasn't originally going to say anything, but Commissioner McCord brought up about shop with the sheriff. We had another person in Currituck County that really stepped up to the plate during Christmas for children. I'm on the Social Services Board, and Kathy Rahm reached out to Feld Motorsports and Dennis Anderson, a gravedigger, to see if he could contribute Christmas. And he and his employees and Feld Motorsports, I think they did 165 kids. They had a school bus set up passing out. So Dennis Anderson and all your people out there, we appreciate what you did. It's really neat to live in a rural community like Grandy, and everybody pulls together. I think that's neat. So I'd like to send a call out to Dennis Anderson at Gravedigger.
Very good. Miss Mary.
Okay, a couple things. Just want to remind the public and the citizens that we have the Moyock Small Area Meeting on January 13th. Next Monday, the meeting will begin at 6:30 at the Moyock Library, so be sure to be there if you want to participate in the process that we're doing with the small area plan. Secondly, I'm on the Workforce Development Board, and there's some opportunities there for businesses to retrain their employees, those that may have been laid off. So utilize those services. If you're not aware of that, please contact the Workforce Development offices. They're going through some process changes, so be patient as they've closed some offices and they're doing some adjustments, but please be patient and certainly utilize those services that are available. As everybody is talking about volunteering and doing things at the holidays, those of you that know me know I'm a big proponent of community involvement. And we all jump in during the holidays and try to give back during the holidays. But we have to keep in mind that there are opportunities all year long. You can volunteer with the animal shelter, the senior citizens, there's the food pantries, there's the satellite offices for the sheriff. There's advisory boards that you can serve on. So I want to reiterate that you can volunteer and give back all year long. You don't necessarily have to reach into your pocket and provide funds, but your time is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than reaching into your pocket. Of course, money makes the world go round, but your time and your efforts are most important. So those of you that volunteer, I want to thank you, and I want to continue that process. So please, consider something throughout the year, not just at the holiday season. Give back all year long. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. And I would like to wish everybody in the county a great and prosperous 2014. Now, Mr. Manager.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Nothing? All right. I now need a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A6 to discuss a personnel matter.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to go into closed session.